We will be with you until it passes. We have crews live out in every county tonight. And also, no flights tonight. Tampa International Airport closed for business early today. We have all the important closures and cancellations for you online and, of course, with us on air tonight. And then look at these images continue to come in of this tropical blast. We're talking wind, waves, and water that tonight is rising. We are on top of every angle when it comes to Ada. Thanks for sticking with us tonight. It's going to be a long night. It's already been a long day. I'm Holly Gregory, and this is your news weather now. And weather is the news today, so let's head right over. Brian McClure joins us once again. And Brian, we're about to see a live shot from Coffee Pot Bayou in just a moment. Our Josh Rojas is standing by, but he's saying that the flooding there is really getting pretty serious.
And that does not surprise me. I'm not going to take up a lot of time because obviously I want to get out to that live shot too. I have a feeling that our live shots where our reporters are tonight, whether it be Coffee Pot Bayou, Shore Acres, Gulfport, Madera Beach, wherever it is in those low-lying areas, I have a feeling those are going to be the visuals that we're going to want to see because that's going to tell the story. All right, I can say all night long, hey, the winds are pushing against the shoreline and there's going to be storm surge, but until people see it, sometimes you just don't believe it. Those winds are coming and shoving that water right into Tampa Bay and right up against Pinellas County. So even though the heaviest of rain bands are finally starting to shift to the northeast, it's happening. Okay, the storm surge is happening. So there's the heavy rain bands. The storm surge is occurring. There are winds from the southwest now. St. Pete gusting to 53. The totals are coming in between 5 and 6 inches of rain. When you combine all that together, Holly, you've got the heavy rain falling on the ground. It can't run off. You've got the storm surge coming into the bay. Tides running about 3 to 4 feet above average. It all is a recipe for flooding in the localized low-lying areas, which is what we always say in these tropical scenarios. So, Holly, back to you. I will be back with another update coming up in just a bit.
This is exactly what we're seeing, Brian. So let's head out to the neighborhoods live now. Let's go live to our Josh Rojas. He's in Coffee Pot Bayou. What's happening out there now? Oh, my goodness. Wow. That's some of the worst flooding I've seen there before.
Holly, we're experiencing some severe flooding out here, Holly. I'm actually on the sidewalk. Let me step up over here. This is the seawall. I'm standing on the seawall. This is the Coffee Pot Bayou, otherwise the bay, and you can see, like Brian was saying, the wind is just pushing the water right over the seawall onto Coffee Pot Boulevard. I mean, take a live look. You really can't tell where the bayou ends and the road begins. This road is completely flooded. More than, I'd say there's at least a foot of water in the road. It's starting to creep up to these luxury homes over here on Coffee Pot Boulevard Northeast. And it is just some of the strongest conditions, the wind and the rain that we've seen from Tropical Storm Ada all night. Really in the last hour, we've been having to move our vehicles backwards. That's how fast these floodwaters have been coming up over the seawall. Coffee Pot Bayou is also kind of like a bowl. It sits low. So the neighborhoods to the west are starting to drain. So all that water, we're watching water come down the sidewalks. It looks like a river. So you've got the upper neighborhoods on higher elevation draining down here. Plus you've got the bay coming in the other side. So this is just a recipe for disaster for the folks here on Coffee Pot Boulevard. And we're 2 hours away from high tide. So this is only going to get deeper. These floodwaters you see, Holly, back to you.
That's certainly intense right now. We're going to keep coming back to you there, Josh, as like you said, we're not even to high tide yet. So that is something we got to keep our eyes on, as we know folks living in that area right now are watching too and hoping it's not getting up into their homes, but serious flooding happening there in Coffee Pot Bayou. We'll be checking back with Josh. We do have crews in each Bay Area county tonight, and right now we want to head over to Hillsborough County. Our Mitch Perry joins us now. He's in Tampa, and Mitch, hopefully you're not seeing quite as severe as what we just saw from Josh, but we can see the wind and rain still coming down pretty hard there.
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with right now, Holly. I can't attest to the flooding. We haven't been seeing that, but I'll tell you, we're outside the Tampa Convention Center right now at the Riverwalk, actually, And, you know, we've been here all day long, and the rain has been intermittent throughout the day, but it's really picked up after 6 p.m. this evening. We're told by City of Tampa officials that 11 p.m. is going to be really the worst weather of the evening tonight. So we will say that Tampa has not been as hard hit as other parts of the Bay Area. In fact, you know, as you've seen throughout the Bay Area, Tampa, you know, in between other areas. But we should tell you that Jane Castor did have a news conference earlier this afternoon. She said that the storm is very different than other storms, and very unpredictable, but she said it was also going to be a very bumpy night tonight.
We are going to have tropical storm level winds, there's no doubt. We are still monitoring any surge in the water, and we expect that we'll see anywhere from 2 to 4 foot tidal surge in the coming hours.
Now, we'll say that, of course, you know, if you've lived in Tampa or you worked in Tampa or just visit Tampa, you know when we have these storms, flooding can be a real issue here in certain parts of the city. Earlier this afternoon, Mayor Castor said that wasn't really a problem. In fact, she was complimenting the fact that the city, of course, has really improved their stormwater projects. You might remember 4 years ago, the city of Tampa, the city council actually approved more than $250 million in stormwater projects. However, I will say, I'm sure there is major flooding going on right now because there's just a lot of water coming down right now, and it's going to be like that for the next couple of hours. Reporting live in Tampa, Mitch Perry, Spectrum Bay News 9.
All right, Mitch, thank you. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mentioned that earlier, what Mitch was talking about, and cleaning out those sewer systems and storm runoff, and pulling out, you know, tons of gasparilla beads out of that what is already an antiquated system. They did that major, very, very expensive clean out. I said a couple of years ago, Mitch is saying 4, time flies, but it has made a difference. You can see that, although clearly all that water has got to go somewhere. I mean, it can only handle so much, but prior to that, they had much worse flooding problems. Even in a good summer storm that came and went, you'd get flooding along Bayshore Boulevard, and that's really improved. So that's good, but no doubt this is a little more than it can probably handle right at the moment. All right. Some of our northern counties, they have stayed relatively dry so far, but the storm is slowly making its way that way. So Hernando County, Citrus County, you might be saying, oh, you know, it hasn't been that bad for us just yet. You're not out of the woods. It's coming that direction. So we want to go to Spectrum Bay News 9 reporter Sarah Blasonis. She's in Citrus County and Crystal River, and it has been relatively, you know, better there, Sarah. But you know there is weather to come your way for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Holly. And you can see it's not raining here right now. I would say the biggest change from the last time we checked with you here at Pete's Pier in Crystal River is the wind. Now, this is not constant. You can see it's pretty calm right now, but we are starting to see some of those stronger gusts. To give you an example, I was sitting in my car just a few minutes ago, and we had a really strong gust come through, and it actually shook the entire car. So things are progressing as far as that is concerned. Now, something else we're keeping an eye on for you here in Citrus County are the water levels. A couple of hours ago, we showed you that there were several feet of dry land here at the edge of the Pete's Pier parking lot, leading basically all the way out to that plant that you can see past the water line. That has since come up several feet. It is creeping closer to the parking lot. But again, we're really not seeing the impacts that some other areas in Tampa Bay are seeing. Like you mentioned, for the first few hours we were here in Citrus County this afternoon, it wasn't raining. It's still not raining. But that dry weather gave people here at Pete's Pier a chance to take steps to protect their boats. Now, we ran into several who were working to get their boats out of the water ahead of a potential storm surge. And again, that's one of the impacts we're looking out for you here tonight. A warning is in place for surge that could reach 2 to 4 feet above ground level. And we spoke with one man who tells us that he lives on his boat here, and he says based on what he saw today, it looks like people here are taking this seriously.
All day long, boats have been pulling out that normally would not be pulling out. These are boats that are up and down inside the Crystal River area that are parked at their homes. Nothing but procession of trailers all day long. Boats have been backed up out here at the boat ramp, 5, 6, 7 boats deep trying to get out before the storm hits.
Oh, yeah.
Now, winds of up to 39 miles an hour are part of what's predicted as a possibility for here in Citrus County, and I don't think we're seeing that just yet. You know, throughout the day we've seen our crews in some pretty serious conditions out there where they've said that they've actually had to brace themselves against the wind. We are not seeing that here in Crystal River right now, but again, something we are definitely keeping an eye on. And another thing to keep in mind, high tide is just a little bit less than 2 hours away here. So again, we'll be monitoring the water levels here in Citrus County carefully. Holly, back to you.
All right, Sarah, thank you. Yes, high tide is key all along our coast, and this is why, as we go to weather, I want to show you this video from earlier in Madeira Beach. If we can go to that to show some of the coastal flooding. Look, this is Gulf Boulevard in Madeira. You can see some cars trying to go through there. That one might even be stalled out. You don't want to drive through water like this. And unfortunately, this was, before high tide. We're not there yet. It's just starting to come in some of our coastal areas, and the water is really coming up. This is some of the worst coastal saltwater flooding that I've seen since, I've been in Florida now for 13 years, and we haven't had really bad coastal flooding like this that I can recall, Brian.
Well, it's all based on trajectories, Holly, and it's also based on the placement of storms, because it really is, it's a personal thing, Holly. Like if you were to ask some of my buddies that live in Crystal River, they'd go, oh yes, we've had tons worse than this. So it's all relative to where are you located. I know what you're saying though, like Gulfport, Madeira Beach. You're right, we haven't had that bad because we haven't had the trajectory on some of those past storms. Like Hermine was tons worse up in Citrus County and Levy County, but yet this one's got a different trajectory, so it's a lot worse in Pinellas and Manatee and Hillsborough County. So they're all different, and this is one of the reasons why it's so hard to be a meteorologist when we say, well, every storm's different, and it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. Every single storm is different, so this one is worse in other spots that others might not have been. Crystal River, your high tide time is 1 a.m., but Clearwater Beach, Gulfport, Madeira Beach, Indian Rocks Beach, a lot of you are just coming up on high tide right now as we speak, between 9 and 10 p.m. Tarpon Springs, 9:40 p.m. Bayport, 11 p.m., St. Pete, 11 p.m., Davis Islands, 11 p.m. So between now and 1 a.m., we're going to start seeing a lot of high tide times. So I only expect the situation to actually get a little bit worse before it gets better. It's actually going to peak probably around midnight and then start coming down from there. Look at the winds. They're still strong. I mean, they're really not backing off a whole lot. 52 mile per hour wind gust right there, St. Pete, 40 McDill, 44 Bradenton. So really, we have to wait for the storm to get farther north latitude before these winds will really start to back off. The back side of the storm is just as bad as the front side was, and the eastern side that's getting all the heavy rain bands coming through, these are just torrential downpours. So you've got the fresh water falling, meeting the storm surge, and it just has nowhere to go. So yes, conditions will improve, but it's not going to be until we get past midnight. Look at that heaviest rain band. Watch where it goes. It finally works its way off to the east, and that's going to be at about 4 to 6 a.m. in the morning. And then for tomorrow, westerly winds come in and we get the drier air. I'll be back to talk about the 7-day forecast. Hey, we've got a treat for you. Cold front's on the way for next week. I've got it for you in just a bit.
Save on pool automation and more, store-wide. Yes! At the Pinch a Penny 4-day winter sale, this weekend only.
Spectrum BAY9 has always been your trusted resource for local, up-to-date news and information. Now we're offering all of that wherever you are, featuring the same team you already rely on. Informing, empowering, and connecting you to your community. Download the Spectrum News app, available on the App Store and Google Play. Spectrum News, your community connection, exclusively for Spectrum customers.
If you've been injured in a slip and fall accident, hiring Farah can make all the difference. Case in point, our client was injured in a major restaurant chain and was told they wouldn't get a dime from the restaurant. But that didn't stop our team from proving that the restaurant's floor was dangerous. And we got them to pay nearly $500,000. And on top of that, they completely changed their floors, making the restaurant safer for future customers. Farah, here for you, here for good.
Well, hello, Winn-Dixie. It's Thanksgiving time. Synchronized shopping. Best quality, best prices. Break! We meet by the meat. Turkey time! The best quality at the best price, and that's guaranteed. Now that's a win-win. Win-win twins for the win. Thanks, Winn-Dixie, for all the winning deals.
Winn-Dixie, it's a win-win.
This heater keeps the water at the perfect temperature, but it makes the air so cold. You know, it doesn't actually make the air colder. Pretty sure it does, though. Pretty sure it does.
Save on pool heaters and more store-wide at the Pinch A Penny 4-Day Winter Sale. This weekend only.
Spectrum BAY9 is brought to you by Lakeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep. Drive what you want at the all-new Lakeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep on I-4 Exit 31.
Here are your winning lottery numbers.
Tracking for hours on end Tropical Storm Ada all Wednesday evening, and now going into Thursday morning we're going to be talking about the storm, and we want to go to our northern counties now. They haven't had quite as much as we've seen from this storm further to the south, like in Pinellas and Manatee counties. But let's bring in Citrus County Sheriff now. Sheriff Prendergast is on the phone with us. Thank you for taking time to talk to us, Sheriff. What's the situation there like in Citrus now?
Well, Holly, right now, we just came through the low tide for the evening, and we're looking at the next high tide sometime after the 1 o'clock hour tomorrow morning in the Kings Bay area. So we've done a lot of preparations. We've got a lot of folks that are out on the streets right now. I've got Sergeant Craig Callahan and all the guys on the west side of Citrus County going out checking the typical areas that might flood, like the Mason Creek area down there, Old Town and Homosassa, Rosello Trail, which is a little bit further up US 19, Fort Island Trail, and then down in the downtown area of Crystal River. And right now, because it's low tide, we're keeping our fingers crossed, because when the winds pick up later tonight and into the overnight, we know that we're going to see some additional potential localized flooding. But again, based on the National Weather Service information, it looks like the storm surge is only going to be about 2 to 4 feet, which would bring the water right up to the edge of the western side of US 19 downtown Crystal River. So there might be some very small, patchy, localized flooding, but we don't anticipate a Hermine type of event, which brought the flooding well past 19 and well east of US 19, going towards several of the key areas down there in the Crystal River area.
Oh, I certainly remember covering that very well, and there were water rescues and everything else going on back then. And thankfully, you're right. That's not looking like the kind of situation that you're in. And I was talking to our meteorologist earlier, and they said, ironically, our northern counties like Citrus, they're going to be closer to landfall, but better off. You don't normally think about it like that. So, are you feeling? And I know you're not out of the woods yet, and you've got extra folks on, but are you sort of feeling like this was probably the best case scenario with this storm?
With a late season storm like this, having the interaction from the high pressure system that's out there on the Atlantic side and some other weather factors, and plus too, that just the fact that the tides are lining up real well, I think we've dodged another bullet. I think it's safe to say that. But the one thing that we want to remind everybody in the overnight hours, Holly, is turn around, don't drown. If you get out and you feel like there's flooding going on, please don't get in your vehicle and try and escape. It's too late. And those folks that are in those habitually low-lying areas that see localized flooding when we have the king tides and other wind-driven type of events, they know that they have the potential of seeing some localized flooding. So, we didn't do an evacuation order, but because of the localized flooding issues, those folks should be well aware of what they might face potentially in the overnight. And we want everybody to stay tuned on what's going on right here in Citrus County by using our smartphone app that's out there in both of the Apple and iPhone markets as well as the Android markets, and go to our website too and stay abreast of things that are going on there. Of course, my TV right now is on BAY9. We've been glued to BAY9 all day today, so we really appreciate all the great work that you guys are doing for us.
Well, thank you for saying so, Sheriff. We appreciate that. And if folks in your area do, if they're in those low-lying areas and maybe things get a little worse than expected, because there can always be surprises, I'm sure you've got, extra folks on staff tonight who are there should they be needed.
They are absolutely on duty. We're here 24/7, 365, rain or shine, and certainly with a tropical storm bearing down on us, we're going to be there. But when the winds get very high, we don't want to risk the lives of our first responders, and we don't want our citizens to risk their lives. Please stay indoors whenever the winds start to pick up a little bit later in the overnight hours, and you'll be safe, and we'll be able to get out tomorrow and do whatever damage assessments we need to do and get back to enjoying everything that's great about the Nature Coast.
Well, hopefully there's not much damage to assess. That is certainly what we're hoping for. But Sheriff Mike Prendergast there in Citrus County, hope you all have a safe night, and thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Holly. Be safe out there, and for Sarah and the folks that are up in Citrus County, we'll be out and about. If you need anything from one of our deputies, don't hesitate to let us know.
I will let Sarah know. She'll be there all night long tracking it for us. So thank you again, Sheriff.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. And with that, we're going to head over to the Weather Center now and talk about our northern counties. And you were telling me, Brian, earlier that if this thing would just make landfall, and even though it's going to be close, up north in our northern counties, it would be better off if we could just get it to come through here.
Absolutely, because everything's about wind trajectory. So if I would have said late last night, hey folks, it's actually better if we have a storm coming right at us, everybody probably would have wanted to throw tomatoes at me.
What's he saying?
They would have thought I've gone insane. But this is what we mean when we say things like, and I did say this last night, I said, hey, regardless of the exact path off to our west, it's not going to be great for us because we're going to be on that sloppy, wet side. And sure enough, we have been. And this is what happens when you're on that eastern side. So it's a weak tropical storm. Yes, it's been weakening. There's drier air. There's wind shear working against it. But this is what happens when you're on that eastern side and all the heavy rain gets shoved into our coastline. We are experiencing not only heavy rain bands and gusty squalls and everything in between, but of course we've got the flooding, the storm surge. So look at that, between 4 and 6 inches of rain easily in Pinellas County and western Manatee County. It's also starting to add up in Hillsborough County. However, not quite as much there just yet. When you look at the center of circulation, it stayed offshore. There it is. It has not come in and made landfall. Everything's about trajectories, wind direction, okay? So you've got your center here. Well, in Citrus County, the wind is blowing offshore. You're not going to get a storm surge with that kind of wind. So until the storm gets to this latitude and then you finally shift your winds, you're not having any problems in Citrus. Plus, you're not dealing with any of the heavy rain bands. No, all that has been right down here. The southern half of our area, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Manatee County. And by the way, you're far enough east, you really haven't had that bad of weather in Polk County either. So these rain bands are really, really heavy. Had a storm spotter out near Courtney Campbell Causeway, and they said water's just crashing into the causeway and just salt spray going everywhere. And so when these rain bands come in, that's when we're getting our 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. We've had anywhere between like 53 and 56 is a very common number that we've been seeing. And that's also what's happening is you're seeing these rain bands really bring in the strong winds. And so it's shoving that water right up against our coastline. And that's when we're seeing the water levels coming up and up and up and up and up. All the fresh water, the rainwater, has nowhere to go. All right, so you look at the big picture. Here's that dry air. I mean, look at this. This is incredibly dry air. So if we were in September, October, this would have been a full blown out major hurricane. But because it's November, this dry air is just shoving the western side. So luckily, it's not stronger than it is. That is why it's going to take off, pick up speed in the next 24 hours. And look at that. By Friday, we're talking about it flying way out into the Atlantic. But every now and then you see, because the center is still over water, look at how it's pulsing. Look at that. It just keeps pulsing up. So it doesn't want to give up. That's a bad thing. I wish it would just give up, because every time it pulses like that, it spreads another rain band in. All right, 10 p.m. Here are your winds offshore for Citrus County, but onshore Pinellas, Hillsborough, Manatee, Sarasota County. There's that rain band, right? Watch, we'll progress this forward to 12:30, midnight to 1 a.m. There's the rain band. Look at the winds still blowing, mainly offshore, Citrus County. So it really is going to take until probably about 3 to 4 a.m. in the morning before you get more of a trajectory where you have an onshore wind, Citrus County. So yes, I think in the end, this is where you lucked out in northern counties, even though it might sound weird that we're going to say, yeah, you're actually going to have the center coming closer to you. But in southern counties, Pinellas, Manatee, Hillsborough, yeah, you've gotten the worst of it. The winds will slowly die down, but it's going to take a while tomorrow. They're going to go from 25 knots in the morning down to 15 knots later tomorrow. And then, finally, if you're looking forward to a cold front, you're going to get it. We're going to have a drier weekend. It'll still be warm, but it'll be drier. And then, next Tuesday, look at that. Oh, yeah, front looks to come through Monday, dropping temperatures, and we'll see highs in the 70s come Tuesday into Wednesday. All right, there's pollen forecast brought to you by Famous Tate Appliance and Bedding Centers. Thursday's levels obviously very low, 0.6, and then jumping up to 5.1 to 5.0 Friday into Saturday.
Marine Forecast is brought to you by Brandon Ford. Find the biggest selection at the world's largest volume Ford dealer.
On average, we spend up to 240 minutes every day surfing, streaming, gaming, and connecting. And having the right data plan matters, so why limit yourself with the competition? Spectrum helps you stay connected on your terms and on your budget with free nationwide talk and text, including Canada, Mexico, and beyond. All with no added taxes, no hidden fees, and no contracts.
Wait, really?
Yeah, really. Switch to Spectrum Mobile today. Call 855-655-2363. Plus, Spectrum Mobile lets your family mix and match data plans to meet everyone's needs, with data plans starting at just $14 per gig. And, unlike the competition, you don't have to get multiple lines to get our best price.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. Save up to 40% every month. Join the millions of customers who have switched to Spectrum Mobile. Get connected today with data plans starting at just $14 a gig, all with no contracts. Go to SpectrumMobile.com. Use the Spectrum Mobile Savings Calculator to see how much you can save and to find a store near you. Or call 855-655-2363 and we'll calculate your savings for you.
At Miracle Toyota, this November is Test Drive for Turkeys event. When you come in for a test drive and a vehicle appraisal, you'll receive a voucher for a free holiday turkey or ham from a local grocery store. And at Miracle Toyota, we have no payments till 2021, a 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty, a 72-hour exchange policy, and up to 4 years of complimentary maintenance. Learn more at miracletoyota.com, Facebook, or Instagram. Schedule a sales appointment and let us prove it.
Hello, I'm Sheriff Grady Judd. People recognize me as someone who enforces the law. But when it comes to your child's safety on game apps and the internet, parents, you are the boss. If you allow your child to use a device, be firm with where and how much they can use them. Monitor what they see. And don't let them have access to those devices overnight when they should be asleep. Be all up in your children's business when it comes to internet usage. Their safety depends on it.
On the Town is brought to you by Lakeland Toyota, where you save more on I-4 on exit 31.
We are at 9:27, taking a live look here in Tampa. This is our camera by Tampa International Airport. You can see the blue lights there off in the distance, and that's about all you're going to see at TIA tonight because it is a ghost town. If you had travel plans, unfortunately, Tropical Storm Ada had other plans because they had to suspend operations there at the airport with all this weather coming in as a safety precaution. So let's go to our Lori Davison now. She joins us live from TIA. Lori, you're out there right before they had to shut things down, but hopefully they'll be able to open back up and everything will be fine and people can work through their travel backlog starting tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, Holly, this really is a mess for a lot of people, and I have a good example of that. Some folks just drove up here a little while ago. Their flight had actually been diverted to land at another airport because of the bad weather here, but their luggage still came here to Tampa. So they came to the airport hoping to get their luggage and got here and found out that it is closed, and they probably won't be able to get their luggage now until tomorrow. So lots of problems for folks. Take a look at the scene here behind me. You can see this is actually the pickup and drop-off area. Usually there's a few people here even this hour of the night, but as you can see, absolutely empty. Nobody here. And then we're going to go ahead and walk you into the terminal here so you can see the scene inside there as well. This is the main terminal where you do pick up your luggage. You can see the baggage carousels there are not moving. There's absolutely nobody inside the airport. It really is like a ghost town here. It's almost bizarre to be in here with nobody around, and it will be this way overnight. This is video taken shortly before Tampa International Airport closed for the night. Flights were canceled throughout the afternoon, leaving just a few passengers scrambling to figure out how to fly out before the airport closed.
It's kind of a buzzy, busy, hurry up.
Airport officials made the call to close to prepare the terminals and airfield in case of severe weather.
Of course, for us, this closure at 3 o'clock today, it does give us the time to make sure that we're preparing our airfield, our terminals, including securing those jet bridges, our ground equipment, any remaining aircraft. So for us, it is as much as keeping our public and our community safe, but also preparing the airport for the threat of these winds.
They're hoping to resume operations by noon Thursday, possibly sooner if the weather clears and there's no damage.
We lost Lori's live shot there. What a crazy year for this airport, for all of us, you know, everything going on. But they had air traffic just like all over the nation drop off 90% during the pandemic, and they're just starting to get things rolling again. And, you know, now this. But it's a one-off. It's a one-day thing. And we'll just have to clear that backlog tomorrow. They're scheduled to open at noon. Potentially could be before that, but they're tentatively scheduled to reopen and start their operations again at noon. And all those folks who were hoping to get out or have people come in, they'll just have to work through it tomorrow. Same situation at St. Pete Clearwater International Airport and Sarasota Bradenton International Airport. Just can't fly in this kind of weather, so they also suspended their operations today. What we are really watching closely tonight here at 9:30 is the high tide that's beginning to come in, and our coastal communities, particularly in Pinellas and Manatee County, that water is very high right now. Be careful if you have to be out. Avoid it if you can, because there's water up over the roads, and when it's dark, there are places you just can't see that. And we've seen cars getting stuck and the water continuing to rise. So that's what we're going to be tracking when we come back to you live. We'll check in with weather again and also go out to our crews who are in those counties watching this happen. We'll be right back and there we go. Look at that live look right there. I believe that is Pass-a-Grille Beach. Yep, and you can see the waves crashing. We'll be right back here on Spectrum Bay News 9, tracking Tropical Storm Eta.
At Spectrum News, we're striving to help rebuild communities by bringing you the latest news from your team of local journalists. Stories that matter to you, now wherever you are. Introducing the new Spectrum News app. Refreshing storytelling, at home or on the go, exclusively for Spectrum customers. All easily accessible with the touch of a finger, providing the information you need to make better, more informed decisions across the places we call home. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, available on the App Store and Google Play. Spectrum News, your community connection.
There is nothing more important to me than family. They're always teaching me, always sharing their wisdom. My father spent 2 decades in law enforcement and taught me the importance of trust and treating your community like family. That's why our heroes and our first responders hold a special place in my heart. They're part of what I call my extended family here in Tampa Bay, made up of the different groups that I'm involved with. These groups are doing such important work in our community, and I love telling their stories on Spectrum Bay News 9.
Here at Spectrum Bay News 9, our #1 goal is to get the forecast right. That's not always easy with tropical weather. It takes a lot of thought and it takes a lot of interpretation of the data. And it takes a tremendous amount of experience. We have a very experienced team. But we also bring different weather experiences to the table. We live here before the storm, during, and after. So we know the community, and we have a great sense of responsibility to get the forecast right for you.
There was a time when the internet used to look like that. With Spectrum, our internet looks like this. And this. And that. Wow. And this.
Yeah, that one looks great on you.
I like that one too. That's why Spectrum has the fastest internet speeds available, with more bandwidth to power more devices. Aw, cute. Family time. Spectrum. Think forward.
Introducing the new Spectrum News app. Stories that matter to you, now wherever you are. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, your community connection.
The weather. Tropical storm Ada coming in late in the season. Season runs through the end of this month, but it's been a long time since we've had a storm this late in the season, all the way into November here. I've never covered one, and I've been covering storms in our area for 12, 13 years, and this is the first one this late. We're just getting some new video in. Let's take a look here. This is in Tarpon Springs. You can see the high water there. They have their high tide coming in just a few minutes. It's at 9:41, I believe. So you can see that the water is already high there, hopefully not getting into some of the businesses there along the area in Tarpon Springs, but still coming up and will be for the next several minutes. We're going to check in with our crew there in a little bit. Our Ashley Paul's following things in Tarpon Springs, but right now we want to head out to Hillsborough County where our Dave Jordan is. And Dave, what's happening there in Tampa? What are you seeing right now?
Well, you know, Holly, I talked to you the last time when we talked about the ebb and flow of the rain coming down. Our photographer, Anthony Sandy, described it as a water park right now. It has been coming down pretty heavy, and a lot of us are drenched. And also the winds were picking up, and proof of that over my right shoulder. Take a look at this. We're at Bayshore and Wallcroft, and that sign was upright, I promise you, probably about 30 minutes ago. Now it is upside down. That is a result of how strong the wind is here where I am standing along Bayshore Boulevard. And if you go to the right of your screen, nobody's out in the street right now, but the water has been lashing against this seawall, this wall right here. And when drivers come through, you can see the puddles sort of part like the Red Sea, and the water splashes everywhere. So what you were talking about early, Holly, about it being so dark and people not able to see the road and the high water is coming here, we're not seeing this as we're seeing it in the coastal communities, but make no mistake, there is a lot of water in the street right now. I should also say that Bayshore, which is sort of known, unfortunately, in some instances for people speeding up and down the street, that is not the case here. People are very respectful of the speed limit, and they are actually going a little slower because it is dark and there is water on the street, and you don't want any sort of unfortunate situation. So right now in Hillsborough County, the rain is still coming down. It's coming down fairly heavy. The winds are picking up, and we are continuing to monitor whatever is happening, and we will bring you those reports throughout the night. We are live in Hillsborough County. Dave Jordan, Spectrum, BAY9.
Yep, Dave, that has been the situation there for hours with dealing with this storm that's just parked itself right off our coast, and we continue to see it. Want to let you know we just got word from Bradenton PD that one of their streets there underwater, probably one of several, but we know that 600 Virginia Drive West is underwater there in Bradenton. And that's something that we're seeing particularly in Manatee and Pinellas County in our coastal areas as we move toward high tide, and all this water's got to go somewhere. So let's head out to Pinellas County now. Our Trevor Pettiford has been covering this storm in Paso Grill for us, and you're standing in what would be a picnic area, but it's underwater right now too, Trevor.
Yeah, this has been pretty. You can see this is just some of the squalls. Look at that. Wow, that just came up here just a second ago. We're seeing these huge squalls coming up against the seawall here. As I move out a little bit further, you can see how the waves are just crashing against this storm wall here at Paso Grill Beach. We're also seeing a lot of beach erosion here as well. I'm going to come back here a little bit closer so those waves don't knock me out as well. But you can see, just look on the ground, all this sand that we're getting kicked up here. That's a lot of the beach erosion that we're seeing off of Paso Grill Beach here. We're also seeing a lot of flooding. Let's take a look at some video we shot just a little bit ago. My photographer, Matt Blanchard, shot this on Paso Grill Way. We're just a couple blocks away from that. It's completely covered in water. You can see that we don't know how deep it is in some areas, but we're told by some residents that parts of it are impassable. And actually, honestly, we're not sure if we'll be able to even get out of here until that water goes down as well. It's been a steady rain, steady winds here, and as we come up on that high tide, this is going to be a real area of concern because the wind has been so strong, the waves have been so high, and the water has been pouring over into this area. It's been coming up through the sewers here, and that's what's causing a lot of the flooding, especially along Paso Grill Way and probably along Gulf Boulevard. We just couldn't get down Gulf Boulevard because we can't get through the flooded out waters yet. But back here live, again, you can see just the waves, how they're just pounding the storm wall here at Paso Grill Beach. We've been seeing that all night long. The people that were out here have all kind of gone in because things have gotten a lot worse out here. So we're going to take a little bit more shelter here and keep an eye on the situation here. But as you can see, we're seeing a lot more wind and a lot more rain. Back to you, Holly.
All right, great work, Trevor. Yeah, you might be stuck there for a while, judging by that video you just showed us. Water high everywhere and up over the road there. Okay, we want to stay safe. Take a little break. We'll come back to you there, Trevor, in Paso Grill. Also staying in Pinellas County now, we're going to head out to our Georgia Roman. She's been live for us many times today over at the St. Pete Pier and Georgia. We've seen close to where you are, Coffee Pot Bayou. Within the hour, we saw Josh's live shot, the flooding happening there. What are you seeing over at the pier?
We're seeing the water just pour over the seawall, Holly, and earlier we had larger waves that were just crashing over the seawall there, and we're seeing that again, some flooding down by the pier. Take a look at, I mean, we're getting one of those squalls coming through with the gusty winds. You can see the signs they're shaking. We had a lull for a little while, and the rain calmed down, the wind calmed down, and lasted about 10 to 15 minutes and it picked right back up. The pier closed at 2 o'clock today. All the businesses along the pier shut down. All day tomorrow on Thursday, the pier will also be closed as they work to assess any damage. We don't really know what the extent of the flooding will be just yet because as you've been talking about and as we've heard our weather experts talking about, we're not even at high tide yet and already this water is just pouring over. We saw some standing water as you drive out of the pier where all of the boats are docked, so that's another problem area, and a lot of the businesses down here closed early, so certainly a lot of gusty wind, heavy rain right now. We're getting one of those squalls through, Holly.
Are the squalls as strong as they were the last couple of times we talked to you, Georgia? Any indication that they're weakening at all, or are they just staying as strong as they have been?
You know, Holly, I thought they maybe had weakened because we had that moment about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes where it really wasn't raining and no wind. But I'll tell you this gust, the gusts we're feeling right now, they feel like they were about an hour ago, an hour and a half ago when we checked in with you. So no, it doesn't feel like it's slowing down at all. In fact, it feels like it's picking up once again.
Yeah, we can certainly hear the power of that wind there. All right, Georgia at the St. Pete Pier. Thank you. We want to head over now to talk to Brian some more about as we're approaching in areas the high tide. What are we looking at? What's coming up next for high tide we need to be keeping an eye on here, Brian?
Let's see. Right now it's Clearwater Beach, Madera Beach, basically all the Pinellas County beaches. High tide is starting to occur right now. Then after this, Holly, it's going to be in the bay between right around 10:30 and midnight. So it kind of takes time to make it, through the mouth of the bay and in there. The trajectories of the wind, something you and I have been talking about, that's really what is setting up Tampa Bay proper for this just bad combination. You've got the heavy rain, but look at the wind direction. I mean, it's pointed right into the bay. It doesn't get much of a more perfect setup, and I mean that in a bad way. Obviously, I do not want the storm surge, and I don't want the perfect setup. When we talk about, hey, if we're going to get a bad storm in Tampa Bay, it's going to come from the southwest and move northeastward. Well, that's pretty much it right there. Look at how those winds are coming around the rotating Eta and pushing water right into Tampa Bay. The gusts, by the way, you were just talking about that with Georgia. Yes, they have still been in the 40s and 50s. You're right. They're really not backing off. I don't think they're going to back off until we can get this center farther north latitude. So it might be another 3 to 4 hours. And basically then what's going to happen is, notice in Sarasota, they've kind of dropped down just a bit. So every county that it moves farther north, then the counties south of there will slowly start to decrease. Hey, this is an interesting graphic. It portrays and illustrates where the heaviest rains have been over the past 12 hours. And look at this big swath of really heavy rain, 4 to 7 inches rainfall totals, Pinellas and western Manatee County. Huge rains there, okay? And then the farther east you go, look at this. Not nearly as much rain in Polk County. So this has definitely been a much worse event closer to the coast. Now, it doesn't mean, though, that you're not still going to get some heavy rain bands the farther north you live. Citrus, Hernando, Pasco County, you're still going to get those really heavy squalls, but they're not quite as bad. As the storm is going north, it is weakening slowly. So these wind gusts that were in the mid to upper 50s earlier are more like upper 40s to low 50s. So it's slowly coming down. But yes, these rain bands right in here contain very heavy rains, very heavy totals, and still some gusty conditions as they pass on by. The way this will play out is that this will just continue moving north-northeastward. The center of circulation will probably head somewhere between Citrus and Levy County. So look how this heavy rain band shifts northeastward with it. And then the center probably by about 3 to 5 a.m. starts moving into land, and by about, I'd say 8 to 9 a.m., there you can see it working its way off to the northeast. And so then we start to get in on the drier side on the backside. I'll be back to talk about the 7-day forecast and what we can expect through the weekend and into next week, coming up in just a bit.
The Big Weather Story is brought to you by Red Hoagland Hyundai. Family owned and operated for 74 years. Get yourself a Red Hoagland deal.
Excuse me. Hi, can I help you?
I am here to run the marathon.
This isn't a marathon. It's the Toyota-thon at Lakeland Toyota.
Huh. Ooh, look at that new Camry.
Spectrum Mobile delivers the fastest overall speeds with the most reliable mobile service, coast to coast. Now with 5G nationwide included at no extra cost, you get even more speed, making it easier to work and play all day. Switch to Spectrum Mobile for the latest 5G phones and save up to 40% on your monthly bill. And see why Spectrum is the fastest growing mobile provider in the nation. Call, click, or visit a Spectrum store today.
Dinner is served. Let's get started. I'll let Lakeland Electric know.
No need. Power will be back on in under 2 hours.
Grandma.
When an outage occurs at your home, Lakeland Electric will notify you by text, email, or phone. If you have down power lines or other issues, call and let us know. Lakeland Electric. Powered for life.
Get this 2021 RAV4 for only $259 a month.
Don't miss this year's Toyotathon, going on now at Lakeland Toyota on I-4 exit 31.
Getting There is brought to you by Lumen Electric and Air. Looking for a professional, efficient, and qualified electrician? Look no further than Lumen Electric and Air.
Stories that matter to you, now wherever you are. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, your community connection.
This has been the storm that just doesn't want to get a move on and get out of here. It just continues to creep and crawl so slowly along our coast. But we're sticking with you here and continuing to track this in all of our counties, really seeing the biggest effects right now when it comes to coastal flooding. The longer this thing camps out, the more flooding that we're going to see, particularly in Pinellas and Manatee County. But we've got team coverage in all of our counties, including Hillsborough. That's where we want to go right now. Our Adria Arajita is live for us in Davis Islands, and we can see the waves crashing there behind you, Adria. What's it like out there now?
Yeah, Holly, well, actually in the past 5 minutes, things have gotten a lot more powerful out here. This wave just came up and brought a ton of water into Seaplane Basin Park again in the last few minutes. So that just shows how much the water levels are rising here. It's been pretty consistent over the past hour and a half. But like I said, it's really in the past couple of minutes that things have really started to pick up here on Davis Island again. The big concern here being high tide as we move into the later hours of the night. So we're gonna keep monitoring, but for now we're gonna move somewhere safer because, as I said, the water levels are rising pretty quickly here on Davis Island. So for now, I will send it back to you.
All right. Yeah, certainly, Adria. Go somewhere where that water's not creeping up on you there, and that's what's happening. That is exactly what we're seeing. The water coming up over the roads and such, and that's why we're following each moment along with you as different areas start to hit a high tide. We're really seeing a lot of flooding out in Pinellas County. We do want to get you caught up, though. Many of you had to pick up kids early today from school, and if you are wondering if you haven't had a chance to kind of catch up, if you're just getting home late from work or whatever the case, everybody's got different schedules. We just want to remind everybody where things stand with schools, because that is very important and it's different within each county and district. So our Roy DeJesus has all that information for us in the newsroom. Good reminder for everybody where things stand with schools right now. That's what you got for us, Roy.
Yeah, Holly, many parents are wondering what's happening in the next couple of days. So here's a rundown. Pinellas County schools are closed on Thursday. Pasco will cancel tomorrow as well, events and activities. They expect Pasco schools to be in session on Friday, though. Pasco superintendent posted this video on social media. Let's listen.
Tomorrow morning, as soon as it is safe to do so, our staff members will be at our schools and district offices checking for damage, flooding, and possible power outages. As soon as we receive word about the effects of the storm, we will send out an update. After we have the complete picture and after we consult with the Emergency Operations Center, we will make an announcement regarding our plans for Friday.
So top of mind for many school officials is if there's any potential water damage. So Polk County schools will be closed tomorrow as well. This includes all schools, including virtual schools, offices, and after-school activities. Normal operations are expected to resume on Friday. Hernando County joins them. They'll be closed tomorrow. And these schools are going to be going to do distance learning. Citrus County is closed tomorrow, the campuses are, but students will transition to remote learning. In Manatee, schools are closed tomorrow and Friday, but classes will continue for all students virtually through e-learning, and Hillsborough County schools are closed on Thursday and Friday. They'll do remote learning on those days as well. And we have some of these updates online. You can also get alerts on Spectrum News, on the Spectrum News app. Holly?
Yep, up north they get the snow days, and here we get the tropical storm days. But I think this is the latest we've had those for school in quite some time, latest I remember. All right, Roy, thank you for those good reminders for parents and students that they need to know. All right, when we come back at the top of the 10 o'clock hour, we're really going to check in on those coastal communities. That's where our attention is focused right now as there's coastal flooding happening. We have seen water up over the roads in many, many places. So we've got crews in Manatee, Pinellas County. We'll check back with Brian and see if Ada is going to get a move on anytime soon and get out of here. The sooner it makes landfall, the better for us, because this coastal flooding is the big concern that we're watching right now. We're with you here all through each county. We have live reports, so we'll check back at the top of the hour with some of our coastal communities.
Klystron 9 weather forecast is brought to you by Kelly Buick GMC, Florida's only 2019 GMC Dealer of the Year, as awarded by General Motors and a Buick Mark of Excellence winner.
At Moss Nissan, we know you have many choices when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle, such as where to buy, what to buy, and who to buy from. That's why Moss Nissan, our goal is to never lose your business over price with our best deal guarantee. Moss Nissan, choose wisely.
Spectrum BAY9 has always been your trusted resource for local, up-to-date news and information. Now we're offering all of that wherever you are, featuring the same team you already rely on. Informing, empowering, and connecting you to your community. Download the Spectrum News app, available on the App Store and Google Play. Spectrum News, your community connection, exclusively for Spectrum customers.
When you're injured on the job, you need more than just a workers' comp lawyer. Many times your injury was because of a defective product, and our team of product lawyers will bring a claim against the manufacturer. Other times, you need to file for Social Security. Finally, your employer could try to retaliate if you bring a claim, and our employment law team is ready to slap them back hard. You can count on us. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
You have one new message.
Dr. Bonatti, this is Norm Evans. I played for the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Anyway, I was just calling to say thank you to you again, because I'm feeling great. No more back or neck problems after all these years, and I'm doing well thanks to you. I just wanted to say thank you and let you know I was thinking about you. I always do. Okay, God bless you, friend. Keep up the good work.
Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
At Moss Acura, we know you have a choice when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle, a choice of where to buy, what to buy, and who to buy from. That's why at Moss Acura, our goal is to never lose your business over price with our best deal guarantee. Moss Acura, choose wisely.
Priority Health is brought to you by New Smile Dental. Dental implants at a fraction of the cost.
This sponsorship is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan.
For the people.
Weather in Florida can change any minute. Luckily, we've got it every 10. With weather on the nines, all day long on Spectrum Bay News 9. Wherever you go, you'll always be in the know. Your forecast every 10 minutes. On Spectrum Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
Planet Fitness is open and cleaner than ever. At some places, this is a power clean. But at Planet Fitness, this is a power clean. At some places, this is your workout space. But at Planet Fitness, you'll have all the space. So while other places might consider this a warm welcome, we're ready to welcome you with one of these. Now open. Come in today.
It's your last chance to join the new Planet Fitness in Lake Wales for just $1 down. Hurry, offer ends November 19th.
There you go. See you next time. Hello.
Hi, this is Billy from Lakeland Electric. I'm calling about your bill.
Okay.
Looks like you didn't pay it. I'm just gonna need a credit card to ensure that your power won't be cut off immediately.
Oh, really?
No, not really, no. See, I got this sweet vacay set up for early next month, and I just need money for activities.
Don't fund Billy's vacay. Lakeland Electric will never call to collect payment.
Hi, this is Billy.
Visit lakelandelectric.com.
Here in Florida, we deal with hurricane season every year. Unfortunately, we also deal with the risk of a home break-in.
Window World hurricane-rated impact windows add an additional layer of security to your home.
Have you seen those videos on YouTube?
The guy takes a sledgehammer to an impact window and beats on it.
And he never does get the window to break.
With impact windows in your home, crooks will think twice before trying to break in.
For energy-efficient windows, doors, and siding, call Window World.
Window World, simply the best for less.
Klystron 9 Local Forecast is brought to you by Regal Honda. Over 300 new Hondas in stock. Regal Honda Lakeland. Online at regalhonda.com.
Right now on Spectrum Bay News 9, we continue our team coverage tonight of Tropical Storm Ada, this late in the season storm just skirting slowly along Tampa Bay. We will be with you until it finally passes. We have our crews live in every county tonight. No flights tonight, though. Tampa International Airport closed for business all afternoon and evening until tomorrow. We have all the important closures and cancellations for you, both on air and online right now. And just some of the images here of the tropical blast that we are going through today. Wind, waves, and water. Really, that water, the flood waters, a big concern tonight, and we are following all of it for you here on Spectrum Bay News 9. Thanks for sticking with us. It's going to be a long night. It already has been a long day. Let's get right to it. This is your news, weather now. And speaking of weather now, that's where we're headed. Let's talk to Brian about where things stand with this tropical storm that just doesn't seem to want to move on out, Brian.
You know, you're right. That's the way it feels, Holly. And you know why it feels that way?
Because it's creeping.
Well, it's moving at the pace we thought, but we're on the east side. So imagine, okay, we're here and the storm's coming past us, but the rain just keeps coming. Okay, so it's what we call in the meteorology field training. So the rain just keeps training over the same spots. So yeah, it's passing on by, but we just keep getting smacked by the same wind field and the same rain bands.
And all that water's got to go somewhere, and we're getting into high tide all along the coast, and we've already seen some of the images coming in right now. We know Madeira Beach has had flooding up over the roads. We'll have a live shot here in a moment, Brian, from Anna Maria. Yep. All the low-lying coastal areas are dealing with that storm surge right now. That's our biggest concern tonight. Where are some of the areas that you're keeping a close eye on for that?
That what you just said pretty much is it. Now the northern parts of Tampa Bay, because when you look at the trajectory, look at the motion of the storm, and you can see that the center actually has made it all the way to about northern Pinellas, just west of Pasco County. So it is gaining latitude. But notice how the trajectory of the rain bands is still coming in from the southwest. So therefore, it kind of gives you a good, clear picture of, oh yeah, okay, we still have a southwesterly wind flow, so it just keeps shoving that water right up against Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Manatee County. And then yes, combined with all the freshwater rain falling from the sky, it's just a bad combination. So even though the heaviest of rain bands are slowly starting to shift eastward, we're still getting that southwesterly wind, and that's going to continue for at least a few more hours. So yeah, it just keeps going and going. It seems like the Energizer Bunny, that is for sure. Here are your latest winds out there, and even the winds haven't backed off that much. I guess you could say they've dropped maybe 5 to 10 miles per hour. They're in the gusting in the 40s instead of the 50s they were earlier. But yeah, it's kind of a slow process to unravel these storms. If the storm would have made landfall, it would have unraveled a lot faster. But anytime you keep a storm over the open waters, it just keeps feeding off of that fuel. the fuel is the warm water. And even though our water temperatures have dropped into the 70s, that's still warm enough to sustain a tropical storm. It's not enough to sustain like a Cat 3 or anything like that, but this late in the season, yeah, it can sustain a tropical storm. The center of circulation is probably going to end up going up somewhere right around Citrus to Levy County before it makes that hard right turn. But I really don't think the center matters that much anymore. I really don't. I think because we've been on the eastern side all day long, you're looking at it. This is the worst it's going to get. We are at the peak of this event, and as it heads north, it will continue to weaken, and I don't think the heaviest of rain bands will be as bad as it heads north and northeastward. So yeah, Holly, we're in the middle of it right now. It's going to take a while, and let's face it, when we're doing live coverage all night long, just going and going and going, it sounds like we're repeating ourselves. But for the folks in Citrus and Hernando County, they actually haven't had that much yet. So
yeah, they're wondering if their turn's coming. But
that's right. They're watching us going, is it going to be our turn next? So they're still wanting those details.
I've got a question for you on this, Brian, and probably the answer is there is no rhyme or reason to it, but to get a storm this late in the season, is there any reason why this year we're more prone to that, or that's just the way it happened?
Yeah, there is. Big part of it is the La Nina that's going on. I mean, those waters out in the Pacific are tremendously cold, and so what happens is everything on the globe has to balance itself. So if you get a really cold water base over there in La Nina, which by the way, they hardly had any tropical storms on the Pacific side, then you have to counterbalance it. You have to then have lots of storms somewhere else. I mean, think of the Earth as it has to disperse the energy somehow. So if you don't get a lot in the Pacific, you're going to have to get a lot in the Atlantic. And as far as, well, then why are we getting a storm so far north latitude this late in the season? That also is weather patterns. It's been really cold in the western and northwestern part of the country this early in the season. It's been really warm in the eastern and southeastern part of the country. When it's really warm, it tends to be high pressure. You tend to get more tropical systems that last longer later in the season. I mean, that's pretty much the summary for you right there, Holly.
That's a good one, because I've been wondering, and I've held off asking that question a couple times, thinking, well, it's just the way it is. It was just our number this year, but
Yep.
I guess we can say, thanks, La Nina. This is why one of the reasons we're dealing with it right now.
Let's hope we can kick La Nina good riddance by next season.
We're open. All right, Brian, thank you. We'll join you at the 09, but now we want to get out to our live reporters, and let's head over to Manatee County, Anna Maria Island. Our Virginia Johnson is there. Virginia, earlier you were showing us the water getting higher and higher. Where do things stand right now?
Well, we are waiting for that high tide at 11:17 on Bradenton Beach. Right now, we are on the Bradenton Beach City Pier. And you can see behind me, we have the floating docks, and they have just been dancing all night long. And right now, Holly, it stopped raining, which is great because the rain comes across your face and your body, and when it's blowing, it really hurts, like BBs, if you've ever been out here. But the water was being pushed over here. Oh, the waves were coming right over this pier, along with the freshwater rain. Now the rain stopped, and we're just waiting for that high tide to come. And we'll tell you, Holly, that the Bradenton police have asked people to stay off of Manatee Avenue at the Palmasola Causeway because water is coming up onto the road. They have localized flooding in different neighborhoods in Bradenton. The same goes for out here on Anna Maria Island. We have seen multiple law enforcement officers, and we have also seen people working on the electrical problems on the island. We watched the power go on and off around Bridge Street on the south end of Anna Maria Island 4 or 5 times. And so we've been seeing that. Lots of workers out here. The people that have a restaurant right behind us, the Anna Maria Oyster Bar, they were closed for 47 days for COVID, Holly. So, these 2 days don't seem so bad. In the world of silver linings, this is not as bad as things could have been, he says. So we're going to come back and maybe do a chef's kitchen with them when they're open.
Something to look forward to, Virginia. We need that at the end of this year more than ever, that is for sure. And it's nice to see you there getting a little break from the rain coming down so hard. But stand by, because you're probably not done with it just yet. Virginia, thank you. We'll check back in a little bit there on Anna Maria Island, and she was mentioning some of the problems Bradenton PD is letting the public know about when it comes to water over the road. Also want to add to that 600 Virginia Drive West in Bradenton. It is also underwater, and that's going to be one of several places that if you're in a low-lying area, you want to stay off the roads right now because that's what we're dealing with. Also in Pinellas County, let's head back to Paso Grill. Our Trevor Pettiford continues to follow what's happening out there. You look like maybe you're in a little bit of a lull too. It's not raining quite as hard as it was the last time we talked, Trevor.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Holly. We are right now in a kind of a dry spell, if you want to call it that. It's still kind of windy out here, and the waves are still crashing up against the storm wall here at Paso Grill Beach. But the rain has stopped for now, which is kind of nice. It's kind of good for us to dry out a little bit here. But still, there's still a lot of flooding in the area. Take a look at some video that we shot earlier. This is along Paso Grill Way, the road that brings you into Paso Grill Beach. It's completely covered in water right now. It's impossible to get through that. We've heard from a couple other people that have barely gotten through with some of their more high-profile four-wheelers. They've been able to get through, but say a lot of other cars have been flooding out and been stalling out there as well. So it's really impassable to get in or out of Paso Grill Beach. But back here live, it's gotten, as far as tropical storms are concerned, it's gotten relatively pleasant at this point. Actually, I have a few people over here that are visiting from Ohio, from Youngstown. This is, watch out for the water there. This is Dave, Mary, and Michelle. So how are you guys? This is your first tropical storm, isn't it?
Yes.
What do you think? It's kind of crazy.
It's insane.
It's insane.
It's, yeah.
Crazy.
It's something to experience, that's for sure.
Now this guy, today is your wedding anniversary.
Our 25th
Your
anniversary.
25th wedding anniversary.
Well, we decided to come here and enjoy Florida sun and
well, you got some sun before.
Yeah.
How long are you guys staying here till?
We'll be here until Friday.
Okay. Do you have everything you need inside your place? You got electricity? Got food? What?
Yes.
We do.
We are
yes.
covered.
You got good?
Yeah,
covered?
we have everything we need, yes. In case we have lanterns.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just in case. So we're good. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
That's good. Well, I know you want to come out and here and see some of the weather. Let you enjoy a little bit of it before it gets really bad again. Thank you again. Happy anniversary to you. Give you the elbow for that. And you all stay very safe, okay? And it's always good to see fellow Ohioans there. You all take care. Now, again, this is kind of a lull right now, but we're expecting some more rain to come and some more high winds to push some more of this sand and erode this beach. So we'll keep you updated. We'll send it back to you, Holly.
Yeah, Trevor, you got to hand it to you. You always get to talk to the people who you talk to folks in Pennsylvania, now Ohio, and certainly this isn't what they bargained for when they came on vacation, but they've all been great sports. But I wanted to ask you something, Trevor, about your video.
Yes, no, it wasn't. No, it's not.
The video that you showed us, you can see some of the houses and the fences, and it looks like the water is up to those houses. Yeah, we're taking a look at it again now. You can see it right up, it looks like right up to the garage doors of this home. There it is going up over the road. Do you know if people are getting water into their homes? Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard of anyone getting it actually into their home. Some people were saying that they saw some water up to doors and going past the door seal on the bottom. So I would assume that some might have that problem. We haven't even been able to get up there ourselves because we can't get through that water ourselves. We were just at the edge of it when Matt and I were up there shooting some of the video, and I posted something on Twitter on that as well. But we're seeing some of the water along the beach here has been staying off of the road, but it's just that one road, it's one block off of the beach where we're seeing that high water on Paso Grill Way. We don't know how deep it is as you're going towards the Don Cesar, but I'm hearing from some people it gets pretty deep there, so it could be a possibility that we have some homes flooded there as well.
Oh, doesn't take much to create a huge mess. Trevor, thank you. We appreciate you keeping everybody informed there, and as they're visiting our area, little surprise here from Ada. Thank you, Trevor. All right, let's get caught up on where we are with Ada's track and how much more we're in for. Brian joins us once again, and Brian, when we saw Virginia and Trevor, they're both in a place right now where there's not rain coming down, but that doesn't mean there's not some more bands to come here.
Yeah, I think we're still going to see bands. However, that's a good point. I think they'll continue to at least decrease in intensity as the storm gains latitude and starts to drift to the north. If you're farther south, at least the intensity will start to back off. And Klystron 9 is portraying that. You're right. Our reporters that are out there, for example, southern Pinellas County, will notice you're not in those yellows and oranges anymore. Now you're in the blues. Well, you're still getting rain, but it's definitely not like what it was earlier. Now notice there's still a heavy rain band in central Manatee County, but notice it's not out near the coast anymore like Anna Maria and Longboat Key. So that is a perfect example of how, yes, it's slowly improving in some areas. What I would really like to see, I don't know if we're going to get the best of both worlds or not, but I'd really like to see is this rain band pivot east, because areas in Polk County have not seen nearly as much rain, so they could actually use it, and I'd like to see it move away from the coast. It is slowly drifting away from coastal areas, but I'd like to see it move a little bit faster. There is the center. So it technically has been moving at a decent pace. It's right about the latitude of, the Pasco-Pinellas County border. And so it is northwest of St. Pete now. And on this trajectory, it will go right past Pasco County over the next couple of hours, and then probably up past Hernando and Citrus County 2 to 3 hours after that. So we're kind of right on pace. Notice by 7 a.m., the storm will pick up a little bit of speed, and it will be northeast of Levy and Citrus County. And then notice by 7 p.m. tomorrow night, there it is, all the way out in the Atlantic. So that's your latest advisory. And yes, the winds have continued to drop. So the latest advisory shows the cap on the highest of winds at 65. Honestly, I have not seen 65 all day long, so I think that 65 is probably out here over the Gulf. And that does tend to be the case. You're going to get your strongest winds with any tropical system where there's no land friction out over the open waters. Most of the wind gusts that I saw earlier were in the 50s. Now most of the highest wind gusts I'm seeing are in the 40s. So the storm is slowly coming down in intensity as it drifts north, but there's still a lot of rain with it. And again, as we've been saying, it's all because it stayed out over the open waters. So watch this rain band pivot northeastward and eastward to a certain extent. And there's the center by 2 a.m. And then notice by about 7 to 8 a.m. in the morning, there it is. See what I mean? Drifting up there northeast of Citrus County. We'll be back to talk about your 7-day forecast and the larger scale pattern and what's driving everything coming up in just a bit.
Klystron 9 weather forecast is brought to you by Regal Lakeland, servicing all makes and models.
At Moss Nissan, we know you have many choices when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle, such as where to buy, what to buy, and who to buy from. That's why Moss Nissan, our goal is to never lose your business over price with our best deal guarantee. Moss Nissan, choose wisely.
Watch all month long as Spectrum Bay News 9 celebrates Veterans and Military Families Month. This is community. This is Spectrum Bay News 9. Exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum News, we're striving to help rebuild communities by bringing you the latest news from your team of local journalists, providing the information you need to make better, more informed decisions across the places we call home. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, exclusively for Spectrum customers, your community connection.
So who are we going to call about the AC?
I already called ABC.
So it's done. We have hot water.
Yeah, I called ABC Plumbing.
Way to get it done.
Consider it done with ABC Plumbing, Air, and Heat. Turn to the local AC experts you can trust. Right now, get a complete AC system check for just $29.
Did you get your AC checked yet?
ABC was there yesterday.
So it's done.
ABC Plumbing, Air, and Heat. Consider it done.
At Culpeper Curlin, we believe that family is the essence of life. Nothing in life is more important than the time we share with those we love. Allow our dedication and devotion to family to get you back to the things in life that are most precious. We are Culpeper Curlin.
At Moss Acura, we know you have a choice when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle. A choice of where to buy, what to buy, and who to buy from. That's why at Moss Acura, our goal is to never lose your business over price with our best deal guarantee. Moss Acura, choose wisely.
Here are your winning lottery numbers.
Let's talk now about the travel impacts from Tropical Storm Ada. Our Lori Davison is on scene at Tampa International Airport, which had to close early this afternoon because of all this weather.
The airport closure is causing some issues for passengers. We talked to some people who were actually diverted to another airport to land because of the bad weather, but their luggage came here to Tampa, so they came to the airport looking for it and then found out the airport was closed. So it's going to be a while for them to be able to get that luggage. Take a look at the scene here. This is the pickup and drop-off area. You can see normally it's slow overnight, but you can see it is absolutely empty because of the airport being closed. And then we're going to go ahead and move inside and show you the terminal. The situation is really much the same there. You can see the baggage claim area here. Absolutely nobody around. Things are very, very quiet. It's actually kind of strange to be inside here with such little activity going on. And this is the way we expect it to be most of the night.
This is video taken shortly before Tampa International Airport closed for the night. Flights were canceled throughout the afternoon, leaving just a few passengers scrambling to figure out how to fly out before the airport closed.
It's kind of a buzzy, busy, hurry up.
Airport officials made the call to close to prepare the terminals and airfield in case of severe weather.
Of course, for us, this closure at 3 o'clock today, it does give us the time to make sure that we're preparing our airfield, our terminals, including securing those jet bridges, ground equipment, any remaining aircraft. So for us, it is as much as keeping our public and our community safe, but also preparing the airport for the threat of these winds.
They're hoping to resume operations by noon Thursday, possibly sooner if the weather clears and there's no damage.
So here's the plan. Once the bad weather passes and it's safe, airport crews will be going around checking all the facilities like this and the property to make sure that there's no damage, and then they'll determine when the airport can reopen. In the meantime, they're advising everybody to check the airport's website, the Twitter account, and if you do have a flight, to check with your airline to make sure that nothing has changed. On scene in Hillsborough County, Lori Davison, Spectrum, Bay News 9.
All right, just after 10:19, we continue our coverage of Tropical Storm Ada, and we have flash flood warnings in effect. This is partially due to storm surge. This is partially due to just heavy freshwater rain coming down. When you look at the storm, or I should say the tide times, 1 a.m. Crystal River, 11 p.m. in Tampa Bay, like St. Pete, but it's already at high tide. Clearwater Beach, Tarpon Springs, Gulfport. Notice Bayport's coming up at 11 o'clock. Chassahowitzka's not till 3 a.m. Davis Island's 11 p.m. So as you can see, we still have multiple hours to go here in most spots before we get past our high tide times. So we're not done with the flooding component here. When you look at where the heaviest of rains have been, it's definitely been in coastal regions. I mean, the rainfall totals have really added up. Pinellas and western Manatee County and western Hillsborough County. Look at that bullseye, between 4 and 8 inches of rain. And then when you go north of that, it hasn't been that bad at all in Citrus and Hernando, about a half an inch to an inch. And then when you get east of Hillsborough County, it hasn't been bad at all in Polk County. So it really has been one of those interesting scenarios where it just depends on where you're at. But you know what? That's every tropical system. I mean, go ask the folks in Louisiana and they'll say, oh yeah, I was 20 miles that way and it wasn't that bad with Sally or Laura. And then go 20 miles the other way and somebody says, yeah, my house was destroyed. I mean, it really can be that fine of a line. Now, luckily, we're not dealing with a major hurricane. This is a tropical storm, so it hasn't been nearly as bad as a major hurricane. But there are still impacts. These heavy rain bands contained gusts earlier that were spitting out 55-mile-per-hour winds pretty easily, actually. These heaviest of rain bands are shifting east, so finally some of the heavier rains are going to go a little bit farther inland. The latitude now that the storm is making it to is now finally moving northward. So what will happen is a lot of this will start to finally shift north. You'll start to get the heavier rains in Hernando and Citrus, and you'll slowly start to see your winds increasing also. However, I really don't think the winds are going to get much worse than what they are now, because the storm is decreasing in intensity as this dry air, as expected, is coming across the country. You can actually see the movement. Look at that, across the country. This is pretty impressive cold front moving eastward. And so it's bumping up against the western side. It's what I call a pancake side of the storm. And look at that. You've got all the moisture to the east, but yet the western side is flat. Okay, so that's the drier air. You can see it also on this satellite view. Look at that. Look at that flat edge. See that? So it's not perfectly rounded. Instead, it's just a flat edge. That means wind shear and dry air is bumping against the western side. But every time it flares up, we usually get some really heavy rain bands. So here's the one that's out there right now, and watch how it pivots east and northeastward slowly. So by 1 to 3 a.m., it's pushing through Citrus and Hernando County, and then by 6 to 7 a.m., finally we're starting to see drier air coming in on the back side. And of course, during the day tomorrow, sure, we'll still see showers, but it's not going to be anything like today. Still not a good boating day, obviously, tomorrow. It's going to take about a day and a half to get the Gulf to calm down. So tomorrow's still a bad boating day. The winds will be strongest in the morning, slowly decreasing as the day goes along. When you look at the 7-day forecast, really the big headline is going to be a cold front for next week. But I would say even the big headline is, hey, we're going to be much drier. Friday, dry. Saturday, Sunday, mainly dry. And then Tuesday, ooh yeah, there we go. Now we're talking highs only in the 70s, much less humid. Oh yeah, it's going to feel great by Tuesday. It's finally going to feel like fall again. All right, there's a pollen forecast for the next 3 days, brought to you by Famous Tate Appliance and Bedding Center. Still very low levels for tomorrow at 0.6, but then getting back to about 5.0 to 5.1 Friday into Saturday.
Marine Forecast is brought to you by Brandon Ford. Find the biggest selection at the world's largest volume Ford dealer.
This is the Jones family.
We have a good deal on our wireless plan.
Are you sure? Spectrum Mobile can do better. How many lines do you have?
4.
And how much data do you use?
Graham and I email and text, but these two share and stream tons of videos.
And how much are you paying per month? Don't forget those added taxes and fees and surcharges.
Oh, then $220.
Spectrum Mobile lets you customize your plans. You and Grandma can be in our Buy the Gig plan with shareable data, and your wife and daughter can be in our unlimited data plan. All for $118 per month with no taxes and fees. Spectrum Mobile has the best data plans for your family. All plans include unlimited talk and text with no contracts. See? I proved you could save within minutes. Now it's your turn. Grab your bill and see how much you can save. Visit spectrummobile.com/usave to calculate your savings in 3 easy steps. Or call us at 1-833-295-7283 and we'll do it for you.
This sponsorship is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan.
For the people.
Weather in Florida can change any minute. Luckily, we've got it every 10. With weather on the 9s, all day long on Spectrum Bay News 9. Wherever you go, you'll always be in the know. Your forecast every 10 minutes. On Spectrum Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
Spectrum Bay News 9 is brought to you by Lakeland Toyota, where you save more on I-4 on exit 31.
Our coverage of Tropical Storm Eta continues now. Our Georgia Roman picks up that coverage from the St. Pete Pier, where conditions have been rough out there all day today.
We are still experiencing gusty wind,
big waves crashing over the seawall, causing flooding here at the St. Pete Pier all throughout the day. The pier closed early today at 2 p.m. The businesses shut down along the pier and visitors were told not to visit. The pier will also be closed tomorrow on Thursday all day, and you can just see how strong the wind is. I want to show you some video from this afternoon and this morning where we saw large waves just crashing over the seawall, causing some standing water in front of Dock Fords. Areas that are usually sidewalks and patios just filled with water there, just large waves crashing over. And of course, we are still seeing that out here now. Again, gusty wind, heavy rain. The pier will be closed all day tomorrow on Thursday as the city looks to assess any flooding, any possible damage, and clean up any debris. In St. Petersburg, I'm Georgia Roman, Spectrum Bay News 9.
On the Town is brought to you by Lakeland Toyota, where you save more on I-4 on exit 31.
At Moss Nissan, we know you have many choices when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle, such as where to buy, what to buy, and who to buy from. That's why at Moss Nissan, our goal is to never lose your business over price with our best deal guarantee. Moss Nissan, choose wisely.
I had soft teeth, and so I had problems with erosion. A friend of mine, she went and then she recommended Dr. O'Neill to my wife and I. I don't think I ever spent more than a day in recovery. We've recommended other people who have gone to Dr. O'Neill.
Have you ever wanted implants or a new smile but thought you couldn't afford it? With 0% financing and monthly payments, you can with New Smile Dental. We have the experience that counts for a fraction of the cost. Call New Smile Dental to schedule your complimentary consultation.
People often ask me, how much money do I have to pay you up front to be my personal lawyer? The answer is nothing. It's free unless we win. What about a slip and fall or car crash case? Free unless we win. We have recovered billions in settlements and verdicts over the years. We have never taken a fee unless we've won the case. Our service is free unless we recover for you. You can hire the largest personal injury law firm in the world as your personal lawyer for free unless and until we recover for you. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
At Ovation Bistro and Bar, we're always ready to serve. Together, deployed overseas, they learned that there is no place like America and nothing says welcome home quite like barbecue. Great food, good company, and a chance to appreciate where you are and where you came from. That's what Ovation is all about. Ovation Bistro and Bar is where doing the extraordinary is ordinary.
At Moss Acura, we know you have a choice when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle, a choice of where to buy, what to buy, and who to buy from. That's why at Moss Acura, our goal is to never lose your business over price with our best deal guarantee. Moss Acura, choose wisely.
10:30, we continue our coverage of Tropical Storm Eta. You're taking a look here at video on Bayshore in Tampa. That's right. You can see TGH there in the distance to give you an idea of exactly where you're looking here. But look, you can see the water up over Bayshore and the rain coming down just a little bit, not as heavy as we've seen it at times, but it kicks through in bands and it'll lull like this and then come back up. But that water going somewhere, and right now it's up over Bayshore, and we're seeing that all over the Bay Area, particularly in those low-lying coastal areas, and that's Bayshore tonight. That video taken just moments ago. All right, let's head over to Brian McClure in the Weather Center, and we'll figure out what's going on with Eta right now. How much longer would you think, Brian, until we start to see some real weakening, those lulls sticking around a little bit longer?
It's like a slow stair step. It is happening, believe it or not. It is, Holly. I know it's hard to believe, but it is.
I believe you.
for example, the gusts, gosh, I'm starting to lose track of time. Was it 2 hours ago? They were in the 50s. Now the highest gusts I'm seeing, and it's been pretty significant, the highest gusts I'm seeing are in the 40s. So we're basically every 2 hours dropping the gusts down by about 10 miles per hour. And as it's moving farther north, I'm also noticing that not only are the wind gusts not as bad, but the heaviest of rains are starting to shift away from the coastline. That's a great thing. We need to get it away from those low-lying coastal areas that have had so much flooding, and that's finally happening. It is shifting now, more like out along the I-75 corridor. And quite honestly, because they didn't get as much heavy rain earlier today, I think the grounds out there can handle those heavy rains. So there is a flash flood warning in effect for all of Manatee, Hillsborough, and Pinellas County because it's going to take a little while to get all this rainwater to recede. It might take 3 to 4 hours because you still have that storm surge component with the circulation going around the center of Ada. But yeah, you can kind of make out the center. There's not much left around it, but there it is. It's right out there, and it's headed like that. So it has made it now to the latitude with Pasco County. I know it seems like at times, gosh, this thing just isn't moving, but it is. It's just taking a long time for the rain to kind of come behind it. It's almost like somebody needs to lasso the rain and just pull it north and get it out of here. But unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. It's going to take a while. So I'd say tomorrow morning, we're finally going to be done with this as it's moving off to the northeast. But for now, still some heavy rain bands out there. But yeah, you can definitely see the clearing going on, or maybe clearing's not the right word, drying out a little bit right there. See it kind of poking into Pinellas County and western Manatee County. That's a good sign. That's definitely a good sign. So Holly, I know it might not seem like it, but we're getting there. Just baby steps.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Good signs. We're going to go with it. All right.
And here's the other positive, Holly.
Yep.
You know what? I don't even want to say it. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx it. I'm not even going to say it. That's right. You heard me correct. On a media outlet, I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. I don't want to jinx it, but
you know what? I'll come back to you at the 39, and maybe you'll be able to.
There you go. I like what I'm seeing. I'm not going to jinx it.
All right. Well, we'll just stick with the positive then.
Yep. Positive.
Right. Brian, thank you. It's been a long day. All right, let's head out to our Virginia Johnson. She's in Manatee County. She's on Anna Maria Island, and we're certainly looking for those good signs. And last time we talked to you, Virginia, it wasn't raining, and it's still not, so that's a positive as well.
Very much so, Holly. It's much nicer when it's not raining out here. It's more bearable. We do have a little bit of police action happening at the Bradenton Beach Pier. They are getting ready to close the pier, and if you can see behind me, there is a sailboat that is underneath a floating dock. You can see the dock is a floating dock because it's just dancing in the waves. Okay, so the police are telling us that sailboat is going to shift with the tides. Now, we've been saying all night 11:17 is our tide here. It's going to shift and move with the tide. It's going to flip this floating dock up, and then it's going to make it more difficult for the police to get their boat out. That's what they're dealing with right now. They also have several other sailboats farther on down this pier that have either come sideways into the pier. There was a man that was in a full frog outfit, head to toe, who went to swim to pull his sailboat off rocks on the other side of the pier. So we've met some people that are having some problems. There are a couple of people that live on their sailboats, and they are now taking cover by the Bridge Street Pier and just waiting it out there. And that's not unusual, Holly. We have also seen that before, people waiting out hurricanes in parking garages because they are coastal livers and they think it's a safe place. You can see down the pier, they're getting ready to close this right now because of the problems of the boats and the piers and the floating docks. They have to figure out something quickly to remove everything and make sure there's not more damage. Of course, sorry, that was a lot of, we got some wind bands coming. I also want to let you guys know that the Bradenton police have asked people to stay off the Palmasola Causeway because when you're crossing over, that's on Manatee Ave, there's some water coming over. It's not the end of the world, but it's not safe. We are by the Cortez Bridge, and we're going to be checking a little bit more out here along Anna Maria Island, watching for that storm surge. And I don't know, it never does it justice, Holly, but I don't know if you can feel the wind is picking up like at this very moment.
Yep, we can sure hear it, Virginia, yes, and that's what happens. You go through a lull and then it kicks back up. You know, you kind of said the theme of the night. It's not the end of the world, but it's also not safe, and it's not over yet. So we are keeping an eye on all of it, and we appreciate your work there in Manatee County. We know emergency crews have work to do there as well at that pier that, as she mentioned, they're closing there in Bradenton Beach. All right, we want to head back to Pinellas County, where our Trevor Pettiford is out on Pass a Grill, and he's been showing us the high water coming up there all evening. Still relatively quiet there right now. I mean, you haven't had the next band come through just yet. It doesn't look like, Trevor.
No, we haven't had the last band come in yet, Holly, but the wind just started picking up. I was just telling my photographer, Matt Blanchard, that things seem to be calming down just a little bit here, and then the wind picked up, and we've seen the waves pick up here as well, but we haven't seen much rain here in the last half an hour or so, but there's still considerable flooding in the area. Take a look at some video we shot about an hour ago of flooding on Pass a Grill Way. That place is completely washed out. The street is completely washed out. Some very few cars that are high profile can get through it, but for the most part, we're hearing from motorists that cars are being stalled there, cars are getting stuck, and it's really a huge mess out there. Back out here, though, things have been relatively clear. We've talked to one gentleman here. This guy, his name is Chris. He lives here in Pass a Grill Beach. You were telling me a little bit about the flooding and around your house. Tell me about what you've seen.
Yeah, the water's raised at least a couple of feet. I'm saying 2 to 3 inches more in, it would have been on our floor.
Really? About how close was it to your floor?
2 to 3 inches high. It would have been inside.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Have you done anything to keep it out, or what are you doing to try to keep the water out?
Moved all the furniture upstairs that we could, but now it seems to be receding a little bit, or at least hanging tight where it is.
Now, how's the road around your house?
It's impassable.
Totally.
Yeah, I almost took the kayak out in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's impassable. I've seen one police vehicle about an hour and a half ago, and at this point, there's a dog that was in front of our house.
Yeah.
I think it's gone now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you guys are being safe in there, are you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we got everybody safe. Other than us, me and my mom, we had to come out here and take a look.
Well, yeah, everyone had to take it in the law there. Well, we'll help you stay safe.
Thanks.
Help you got power? You still got power?
We got power, AC, everything, electric, water. We're good.
Well,
we're good
everything.
to go.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
good. Well, good. Well, you stay safe there. Thank you very much. You take care. Again, a lot of flooding in this area. Some areas are impassable, but we are seeing just a lull in the space right now with no rain, just a lot of wind, and as you see behind me, a lot of waves. Back to you, Holly.
All right, Trevor, I'm glad to hear that as close as it was, he doesn't have that water in his house. That's got to be a big relief as you're watching it creep up.
Yeah, really, yeah.
All right, Trevor, out in Pinellas County for us, watching the coast there at Pass a Grill. Let's go back to the Weather Center now, and we just heard, actually before we do that, sorry, I want to show you this. This is Coffee Pot Bayou in St. Pete, and look, the bay up over the road, and you can see, I think those are, there's a fence there. You can see how high the water is, and power poles perhaps, but yeah, that's not where the water belongs, but it is well over the seawall. Our Josh Rojas is there. He's going to join us live at the top of the hour so we can see what's going on in Coffee Pot Bayou, but it's basically a big bowl, so it's low-lying and the water gets in, and hopefully it's a similar situation there in that it's not getting into people's houses, because it doesn't take much to do a lot of damage and make a big mess, but that's some of the most coastal flooding I've seen in that area, perhaps ever, in that particular area. Let's head back over to the Weather Center now. Brian joins us, and you know, we heard the man that Trevor interviewed saying 2 to 3 more inches of water and it would have been up in my home. Yeah. Are they out of the woods for that yet, or could we still start to see it come up a little bit?
I wouldn't say we're out of the woods just yet. I think we're still a couple hours away from that, because even though the rain bands, Holly, might be shifting a little bit east and north, the wind trajectory hasn't changed. And so when you shove that water up against our coast and into Tampa Bay, it's like a bathtub. It has nowhere to go. So you're basically just shoving it to one end of the bathtub. It just can't get out. And that's what's going to happen anywhere from Coffee Pot Bayou. By the way, we just found out Courtney Campbell Causeway is closed. And that doesn't surprise me that much, actually, because for anybody that's familiar with this, and you know this, Holly, that is in the northwestern part, just about as far north as you can go in the northwestern part of Tampa Bay. Well, all day long, we had a southwesterly wind. So just think, you're shoving that water into the bay. You just keep shoving it in. Well, it can't go anywhere. Eventually, it gets pushed all the way up into the northern parts of Tampa Bay, and that's where the Courtney Campbell Causeway is. And a lot of times, this is actually, you might not know this if you're new to the area, for anybody out there listening, this is how we also run into problems around Lake Tarpon, which is located right here in northern Pinellas County. You might be thinking, well, what does a lake have anything to do with the bay? Because the lake water runs down a canal and out towards the northwestern part of Tampa Bay. And the Courtney Campbell is located right here. So what's happening is all this water has been being pushed up into Tampa Bay like this due to the trajectory of the winds all day long. And so the water has piled up here. So you're getting storm surge flooding filling into the low-lying areas. That's why Shore Acres, Coffee Pot Bayou. You're probably going to get some storm surge flooding up here into the northern part of Hillsborough Bay and upper part of Tampa Bay and Old Tampa Bay. And then right here around Oldsmar and right there in northwestern Hillsborough, sometimes you can get some storm surge flooding. So again, even though the heaviest of rain bands are finally shifting away from the coast, it's all about trajectory, and we are still getting that southwesterly wind pushing the water right into Tampa Bay. I mean, I know it seems simple, but that's really what it comes down to, and that's why every storm is different. Remember, Irma was a much larger storm, but remember, the winds were in a totally different direction. They were coming from the northeast, so it shoved the water out. That's really what it's about. It's all about those trajectories. For example, right now, here you can see the wind flow is like this, right? So look at the wind coming offshore of Citrus and Hernando County. That's why you haven't had any problems in your areas just yet. We haven't had tons and tons of trees come down. We've had some power outages, but in Sarasota, this is a perfect example of when you saturate the ground, yeah, you're going to get some trees coming down. The good news is the wind gusts have been coming down. Notice by 7 a.m. the storm will be off to our northeast. By this time tomorrow night, it's going to be long gone in the Atlantic. So at least as it moves farther away, the winds will keep coming down. The highest gusts I'm seeing now are in the 40s. Earlier, they were in the 50s. So they do keep creeping down. It might seem like it's going so slow, but it is happening. It's just happening like every 1 to 2 hours. But there you can see that movement, again, to the northeast. So on that path, it's going to be going right up over Citrus and Levy County later on tonight. I'll be back to talk more about the extended forecast coming up in just a bit.
Watching Tampa Bay's only 24-hour news station, Spectrum Bay News 9. News, weather, now. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The best new cars? Honda. Make the best used cars? Honda Certified Pre-Owned. Inspected and certified with 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty that is backed by Honda. Hundreds are on sale now. Search your local Honda dealer today.
Most mobile providers make you get multiple lines to get their best price. But what if you don't need multiple lines? With Spectrum Mobile, you don't have to get more to save more. You'll get our best price on every line, which could help you save up to 40% every month.
That's great.
Plus, mix and match plans to meet your needs, with data plans starting at $14 a gig, all with no contracts, no added taxes, and no hidden fees. I guess it's no surprise millions of customers are switching to Spectrum Mobile. Switch today with data plans starting at $14 a gig. Call 877-958-7146.
There's still time, but the clock is ticking. Are your floors family-proof and holiday ready? They can be. For a limited time, when you buy from Bob's Carpet and Flooring today, we'll install before the holidays. That's our holiday guarantee. Is laminate, tile, wood, or carpet on your wish list? No need to check it twice. You'll find it at Bob's. Buy today, install before the holidays. It's time to everyday proof your floors before your family arrives. Only at Bob's Carpet and Flooring.
With 9 communities to choose from, Carlton Arms is your best choice for apartment living in Central Florida. Recognized for the signature architecture, sparkling pools, well-manicured and natural grounds, plus a host of desirable amenities, Carlton Arms is a place you'll love to call home. Apartments range from studio to spacious and available at market-friendly rates. Take a video tour online now. Amenities may vary by location.
The best new cars? Honda. Make the best used cars? Honda Certified Pre-Owned. Inspected and certified with 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty that is backed by Honda. Hundreds are on sale now. Search your local Honda dealer today.
Have been tracking for hours on end Tropical Storm Ada all Wednesday evening, and now going into Thursday morning we're going to be talking about the storm, and we want to go to our northern counties now. They haven't had quite as much as we've seen from this storm further to the south, like in Pinellas and Manatee counties. But let's bring in Citrus County Sheriff now. Sheriff Prendergast is on the phone with us. Thank you for taking time to talk to us, Sheriff. What's the situation there like in Citrus now?
Well, Holly, right now, we just came through the low tide for the evening, and we're looking at the next high tide sometime after the 1 o'clock hour tomorrow morning in the Kings Bay area. So we've done a lot of preparations. We've got a lot of folks that are out on the streets right now. I've got Sergeant Craig Callahan and all the guys on the west side of Citrus County going out checking the typical areas that might flood, like the Mason Creek area down there, Old Town and Homosassa, Rosello Trail, which is a little bit further up US 19, Fort Island Trail, and then down in the downtown area of Crystal River. And right now, because it's low tide, we're keeping our fingers crossed, because when the winds pick up later tonight and into the overnight, we know that we're going to see some additional potential localized flooding. But again, based on the National Weather Service information, it looks like the storm surge is only going to be about 2 to 4 feet, which would bring the water right up to the edge of the western side of US 19 downtown Crystal River. So there might be some very small, patchy, localized flooding, but we don't anticipate a Hermine type of event, which brought the flooding well past 19 and well east of US 19, going towards several of the key areas down there in the Crystal River area.
Oh, I certainly remember covering that very well, and there were water rescues and everything else going on back then. And thankfully, you're right. That's not looking like the kind of situation that you're in. And I was talking to our meteorologist earlier, and they said, ironically, our northern counties like Citrus, they're going to be closer to landfall, but better off. You don't normally think about it like that. So, are you feeling? And I know you're not out of the woods yet, and you've got extra folks on, but are you sort of feeling like this was probably the best case scenario with this storm?
With a late season storm like this, having the interaction from the high pressure system that's out there on the Atlantic side and some other weather factors, and plus too, that just the fact that the tides are lining up real well, I think we've dodged another bullet. I think it's safe to say that. But the one thing that we want to remind everybody in the overnight hours, Holly, is turn around, don't drown. If you get out and you feel like there's flooding going on, please don't get in your vehicle and try and escape. It's too late. And those folks that are in those habitually low-lying areas that see localized flooding when we have the king tides and other wind-driven type of events, they know that they have the potential of seeing some localized flooding. So, we didn't do an evacuation order, but because of the localized flooding issues, those folks should be well aware of what they might face potentially in the overnight. And we want everybody to stay tuned on what's going on right here in Citrus County by using our smartphone app that's out there in both of the Apple and iPhone markets, as well as the Android markets, and go to our website too and stay abreast of things that are going on there. Of course, my TV right now is on BAY9. We've been glued to BAY9 all day today, so we really appreciate all the great work that you guys are doing for us.
Well, thank you for saying so, Sheriff. We appreciate that. And if folks in your area do, if they're in those low-lying areas and maybe things get a little worse than expected, because there can always be surprises, I'm sure you've got, extra folks on staff tonight who are there should they be needed.
They are absolutely on duty. We're here 24/7, 365, rain or shine, and certainly with a tropical storm bearing down on us, we're going to be there. But when the winds get very high, We don't want to risk the lives of our first responders, and we don't want our citizens to risk their lives. Please stay indoors whenever the winds start to pick up a little bit later in the overnight hours, and you'll be safe, and we'll be able to get out tomorrow and do whatever damage assessments we need to do and get back to enjoying everything that's great about the Nature Coast.
Well, hopefully there's not much damage to assess. That is certainly what we're hoping for. But Sheriff Mike Prendergast there in Citrus County, hope you all have a safe night, and thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate your time.
All right, we have flash flood warnings in effect for Pinellas, Hillsborough, Manatee County as we continue watching Tropical Storm Ada work its way northward, but at a slow pace. And so what's happening is we're still seeing a lot of heavy rains on the eastern side, plus with the trajectory of the wind still coming from the southwest on the back side, it's basically pushing all that water right into Tampa Bay. So we've seen the combination of fresh water flooding meeting the storm surge, and none of it can wash out yet. It could take hours before those water levels drop down. And it's the typical low-lying areas, yes, but it's just come higher than those typical levels. So the Gulfport area, the Barrier Island beach areas along Gulf Boulevard, Bayshore Boulevard, Coffee Pot Bayou, the Shore Acres area. So these are all common areas, but you can definitely make out the trajectory of the winds just by looking at how this is rotating. Your center is right out in here, and so it's moving like that. And so you're getting that southwesterly wind flow to move around. And look at these rain bands. Yeah, pretty impressive rain bands that continue working their way eastward and inland. Yes, you'll finally get some heavy rain pushing closer and closer to you in Polk County. The good news is the wind gusts have come way down. They were in the 50s, now they're down to the 40s. They'll probably drop even lower than that as that rain band moves inland, probably into the 30s. The high tide at Crystal River right around 1 a.m. Most of the high tides for Gulf-facing beaches, we've either passed them or right at them right now. In the bay, it's basically between 11 o'clock and midnight. All right, by tomorrow morning, there you can see the storm will be to our northeast. By tomorrow night, it's long gone. And so what's happening is cold front is moving across the country. You can see the movement. Look at that. Everything's moving east, and so it's basically flattening the western side of the storm, and it's helping to shove it off to the northeast. You can even see kind of the pancake-style western side of the cloud. Look at that. Isn't that cool? It's pretty much flat on the western side, and then you have all this moisture off to the east. So that kind of just portrays how we can see things on satellite views. So there's your center of circulation. There are the rain bands. Look how everything starts to shift off to the east overnight into tomorrow morning. And then for tomorrow, we get a westerly breeze with the drier air starting to move in. Finally, we can start to dry out. Still not good boating conditions, though, for tomorrow. I think you should wait till Friday into Saturday before you even think about going out and doing some boating. Remember, it takes a couple days for the Gulf to calm down after a tropical storm has been in it, so it's going to be pretty rough out there still. 7-day forecast for you shows that the last of the showers will be moving out for tomorrow morning, and then much drier air moves in for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Still warm, but at least drier. And then, hey, we get a cold front in here Monday. And that means cooler weather. Yes, you heard me correctly. Cooler conditions come in for Tuesday into Wednesday.
Closed captioning is brought to you by New Teeth Now. In only one day, New Teeth Now can change your life with a new smile. We treat patients others turn away.
Do you hate car shopping? Hill Nissan makes it easy. Hill's product specialists will show you the vehicles and answer all your questions. Get your best price, payment, and trade-in value in just 15 minutes. And Hill will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy theirs. Visit Hill Nissan today. Others won't, Hill will.
Kelly Buick GMC is now offering a one-of-a-kind concierge service for its new Buick customers. When you purchase a new Buick from Kelly Buick GMC, we will come to your doorstep or place of work, pick up your vehicle, and take care of any service that it needs. Then bring it back to you once it's complete. You no longer have to worry to get to the dealership for your service appointment. Visit us online at kellybuickgmc.com or stop in today and discover why Kelly Buick GMC has the best reputation in Bartow.
A healthy tomorrow begins today, and Watson Clinic is part of your journey to a healthier, happier, more productive future. And achieving those goals starts with Watson Clinic. From annual checkups to immunizations through every phase of your child's life, Watson Clinic is your trusted partner because it's your health, your future, your Watson Clinic.
It's the home for the holiday sale at Georgia Floors Direct. Right now, get up to 70% off on every carpet and floor store-wide. Thousands of carpets and floors all under one roof. Plus, qualified buyers get 0% financing for 1 full year. Happy holidays from our home to your home. The home for the holidays sale at Georgia Floors Direct. Nobody does flooring like we do. We save you time, we save you money.
Bad credit, no credit, or just trying to lower your payment? Hill Nissan can help. Hill works with multiple banks, credit unions, and finance companies to get you the vehicle you want at the payment you can afford. Get your price, payment, and trade value in just 15 minutes. Visit Hill Nissan today. Others won't, Hill will.
Clystron 9 Local Forecast is brought to you by Regal Honda. Over 300 new Hondas in stock. Regal Honda Lakeland. Online at regalhonda.com.
Right now on Spectrum Bay News 9, we have team coverage of Tropical Storm Ada that's late in the storm season. Storm skirting along Tampa Bay right now, has been for hours, causing lots of problems. We will be with you until it finally passes out of our area with crews in every county. And no flights tonight, also impacting travel. Tampa International Airport been closed for business all afternoon until tomorrow. We have all the important closures for you and the cancellations in effect right now. We've got that on air and online. And check out some of these images of our tropical blast. They just continue to pour into our newsroom. Wind, waves, water. We are following it all and have been for hours and still have hours to go here. And we're glad to have you along with us, everyone. I'm Holly Gregory. This is your news, weather now. And that is where we begin with our weather right now. And Brian McClure joins us once again. All right, Brian, we're still really watching for coastal flooding. We know that's happening right now. What are you seeing in terms of as we're getting into more and more areas with high tide?
Yeah, it's going to keep happening. You know, we talked about the Courtney Campbell being closed. That's not surprising because it's in the northern part of Tampa Bay. Holly, I just saw that FDOT's even saying something about 275.
Oh, wow. We'll have to check on that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing it come in, so I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but maybe the water has gotten so high near the Howard Franklin that there might even be problems there on 275. So I'm trying to look into that. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you shove all that water up into Tampa Bay, it doesn't have anywhere to go. It's just a big bowl. And so eventually it just keeps filling up and filling up and filling up. And as we know, some of our bridges and causeways are really close to the water. It looks like to me, though, on our latest gauge in St. Pete, I think we have peaked at about 3.5 feet above the normal tide level. That appears to be about where we're peaking right now. So we are just at high tide, or at least coming up on it, and it appears to be right at about 3.5 feet. So hopefully that's where we'll stop and we won't go any higher. There you can see where the center of circulation is. It is picking up a little bit of speed. It's right about out in here. Okay, there's your center. It's moving like that off to the north-northeast, and you can see how we're still getting that southwest trajectory, unfortunately, coming into the bay, but at least the heaviest of rains are finally starting to shift eastward out of the coastal areas, more like Pasco, inland Hillsborough, inland Manatee. And they are starting to shift north also up into Hernando County. So that's the latest. The gusts, instead of being in the 50s, They have come down into the 40s. At least that's a start. That's a start of something, Holly. I think it will continue to improve over the next few hours. But yeah, it's going to take a while for that water level to come down. It could take multiple hours since we still have that southwesterly wind.
Well, it's a start. We'll take it. All right, Brian, thank you. And hopefully he's right about that. He pointed out he thinks we may have hit the peak in St. Pete. So that's good news considering what we've seen there tonight. Let's go live to our Josh Rojas. He's been following the flooding in Coffee Pot Bayou. And last time we talked with you, Josh, it's pretty fierce. So are you seeing it rise anymore, or you think maybe we've hit the point where it's as high as it's going to get?
No, Holly, these waters are definitely still rising. I'm sitting on a bench here on the sidewalk to give you an idea of just how high the waters are here on Coffee Pot. I mean, I'm expecting to see some fish go swimming by here on the sidewalk. Now, here's the seawall. This is where all the water's coming from. This is Coffee Pot Bayou right here, otherwise known as the Bay. This is Bay water right here. Easily 4 or 5 inches over the seawall. Just the wind is just pushing this water right over this seawall onto the sidewalk and right over here onto Coffee Pot Boulevard. I'm going to walk out into the street just a little bit to show you just how deep it is. Don't want to get too deep. I'm already can feel that water going inside my boot. My boot's almost to my knees. Now, here's the reason I know that the water's going up, Holly. Our cars are parked down 26th Street right there. We've had to move our cars back at least 5 times over the last few hours because the water keeps creeping up from Coffee Pot up 26th Street there. The good news is that the rain has stopped, so it's not really adding any more water from the sky, but the problem, as you were just saying and Brian was saying, is it's high tide. So the tide's still coming up. These waters are still coming right over the seawall. You can see they're getting closer to these homes. We have luxury homes lining Coffee Pot Boulevard here. And as the water rises, it gets closer to the front doors of those homes. Thankfully, many of them are elevated, newer construction. And take a look at the dock. The dock is completely flooded over here at this house. So still dealing with a very soggy mess here in Coffee Pot Boulevard. We did see a fire truck go down the way a little bit ago. We're also seeing some flashes. I've seen at least 4 or 5 transformers blow in the area. You just see the sky light up, and that's why I asked Brian earlier, any lightning with this storm? It's not lightning we're seeing. Those are transformers blowing. You can hear them pop too. I think I just heard another one. And we also saw some cars that were stalled out on 4th and 38th Avenue because they were driving through water like this and damaged their vehicles. So at least 3 vehicles there were just hazard lights on, completely stalled out in the intersection there. So again, you want to avoid floodwater. Do not drive through it. Holly, back to you.
You know, Josh, we've done a lot of stories like in Shore Acres where it gets flooding quite often. Have you ever seen, though, you've worked with us for a long, long time and covered a lot of storm systems. Have you ever seen the flooding there in the area that you're in be that bad before?
Holly, that's a great question. I've been here 14 years. This is the worst flooding I've seen from tropical storm or hurricane since I've been working here in Florida. This is unusual. I'm seeing people on the beach, friends of mine saying that this tropical storm is causing worse flooding out on the beaches than a Cat 2 or a Cat 3. And so really surprising to see this weak tropical storm cause this much flooding. It's really unbelievable.
Well, I just hope when the sun comes up, we don't have people who have a whole lot of damage and water in their homes and all that. But based on what we're looking on, that's quite possible. Josh, thank you. I'm sure we'll be checking back with you through the evening as, again, they're just getting to high tide there. So he doesn't see any signs yet that is beginning to dissipate. I do want to mention something. Brian had said he was seeing some social media posts about I-275. The only thing we officially have right now is I-275 southbound from the flooding in Pinellas County, which you just saw, on the I-275 south ramp to 54th Avenue South. That off-ramp is closed. So that's all we have regarding I-275 right at the moment. But like Brian said, the Courtney Campbell closed. The Sunshine Skyway's been closed, for hours on end now because once the wind gets that high, they've got to shut that down as tall as that bridge is. Okay, we want to head on over to Hillsborough County now. That's where Spectrum Bay News 9's Dave Jordan has been covering Ada for us there, Dave. And we saw earlier where you're at there on Bayshore that it was was flooded as well. How's it look now?
It's gotten progressively worse since I last talked to you, Holly. Make no mistake, Bayshore Boulevard is underwater tonight. I'm going to step out of the frame so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, you heard Josh talk about the seawall over there. This is the seawall right here. You can see the water coming in from the bay. Look at this street. This water is ankle deep, and I went over there and tested it. It's enough to make a car stall out. It doesn't look like much, perhaps, from this vantage point, but the water has been coming over that seawall continuously throughout the night, and now with the rain continuing to fall and with the waves crashing over the seawall, this is what we're dealing with. And this is just going all the way down Bayshore. This is more of the same. You can't go anywhere here without seeing similar flooding that we're seeing here. I wouldn't say a lot of cars, but several cars have taken the risk and driven through this water, and I wish they wouldn't have done that, because as I mentioned, this is enough water for the cars to stall out. Now, we did see some flashing lights. I don't know if Anthony Sandy can get those lights all the way at the further end of Bayshore. My guess would be that the police are over there, or someone is over there for either a stalled vehicle or trying to block people from coming through this road. And take a look at this truck driving through again. One of several trucks to come through this area. Now, he's at a higher position, so obviously he's not running the risk of being flooded out, but any other car or any other mid-sized vehicle could run that similar risk. Now, as I mentioned, this is what's been going on all throughout the night. The rain has continued to fall. Tropical Storm Eta making its presence here in Hillsborough County. I said earlier that it was falling and then it would stop. Well, it's been continuous since my last live report here, and I can tell you point blank that this is not a very comfortable position to be in, but we're going to continue to follow what's going on here along Bayshore Boulevard. Fortunately, not a whole lot of cars coming down, but some drivers, unfortunately, taking the risk to get through this water here, and that's something that we certainly don't recommend. We are live along Bayshore Boulevard. Dave Jordan, Spectrum, Bay News 9.
And we hear that rain just continue to come down there, Dave. We appreciate you being out there for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, I've been there. It's after a while, you just think, how much more rain are we going to get? But it's not quite done with this just yet. So let's find out more about that at 11:09. We'll head back over and talk to Brian about it. You know, we're hearing, Brian, even about, we showed earlier, and I apologize, I meant to get to this before I got to you, so if you guys still have the video queued up, let's take a look. Stand by, Brian. I want to show you this video that we have here from Gulf Boulevard. This is Madeira Beach. You can see how high the water is up over the road there, and we've also been seeing some posts about the Johns Pass area, which would be very, very close to this. Having flooding problems all of our coastal areas right now. This is what they're having to deal with, and first responders out there trying to keep people out of the roads. Looks like a car is stalled out in that water, but that's Gulf Boulevard in Pinellas County, Brian. We're still not through high tide in certain areas, so we may not see this start to dissipate for a little while.
You're exactly right, and on top of that, quite simply, as long as the winds are from the southwest and sustained and as steady as they are, I really don't think the water is going to move back out of Tampa Bay and back away from our beaches. I just saw a report similar to yours and similar to what we have been reporting, that they've had equally just as bad of results at St. Pete Beach, Gulfport. Just saw a report that something's happened to the Safety Harbor Pier. I don't know if it dislodged, I don't know if it broke off, but it looks like it went up against the seawall. Well, that makes sense, because again, it's in line with, it's up there in the northern part of Tampa Bay where all that water's been shoved up there. And there's going to be weird things like that happening where it's like, oh man, the water level's now so high, it's going to start doing some damage. It's going to spill over into yards, over seawalls. This has always been one of the things that we have talked about with Tampa Bay for many, 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 many years. We've said, when you get an approaching storm from the southwest moving northeast, it's going to shove water into Tampa Bay. If it moves fast, the impacts are somewhat minimal. But if it moves at a pace like this, where all day long it's just been chugging along west of us, then you just get this persistent southwesterly wind flow. And again, it's like a bathtub. You keep putting water in, but it can't come out. And so eventually it spills over its edges. And that's kind of what's happening in all the areas around Tampa Bay. So I have a feeling we're going to continue to get more reports. And by the way, here are your latest heavy rain bands. Yes, luckily they have finally shifted away from the coast. But remember, all these little tributaries, little rivers and creeks, they all have to dump back towards the bay. So what you're looking at here is the heaviest of rains going inland, which maybe in the short term is good, but in the long term, it still all has to go the same place. So, I mean, this could last for hours and hours. We did have some trees come down. We didn't notice this wasn't a big event in terms of massive wind damage. We knew it wouldn't be. We talked about how it wouldn't be because the winds never really exceeded like gusts in the 50s. Even right now at this hour, when you see that Tropical Storm Eta is officially forecasted as 65-mile-per-hour winds, remember, all that is offshore. Okay, that would be out here if there's 60-mile-per-hour winds. I have not seen a single wind gust above 58 miles per hour today. And the gusts right now have come down. They're mostly in the 40s. So yes, the trajectory continues moving north-northeast. As you can see, the western side of the storm is pretty much void of any rain. All the heavy rain is on the eastern side. It just happens to be we're on the eastern side. And this is what we meant the past couple of days when we kept saying, uh-oh, we're going to be on the sloppy, wet side. That's where we're at. We'll be back to talk about the 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit.
Ashley Home Store's Black Friday sale starts now. Get up to 50% off, plus get an additional 10% off. Or get 0% interest for 6 whole years with no minimum purchase. Only at America's #1 furniture and mattress store. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
Watch all month long as Spectrum Bay News 9 celebrates Veterans and Military Families Month. This is Community. This is Spectrum Bay News 9. Exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum News, we're striving to help rebuild communities by bringing you the latest news from your team of local journalists, providing the information you need to make better, more informed decisions across the places we call home. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, exclusively for Spectrum customers, your community connection.
Lakeland Liquidation is Lakeland's best-kept secret for beautiful cabinets and flooring at affordable prices. Our 15,000 square foot warehouse is full of real wood cabinets, flooring options like carpet, laminate, vinyl, tile, and more. So you can be sure we have exactly what you're looking for, and if it's not in stock, we can get it for you. Our staff makes the process easy with in-home consultations and state-of-the-art 3D designs, ensuring you know exactly what the finished product will look like. Lakeland Liquidation Cabinets and Flooring, top quality at a discount.
Ashley Home Store's Black Friday mattress sale starts now. Get any size mattress for the price of a twin on select Ashley Sleep mattresses. Shop and save today only at America's #1 furniture and mattress store. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
Spectrum Bay News 9 is brought to you by Winter Haven Honda. Save money, save time. Buy it online at winterhavenhonda.com.
As we watch Tropical Storm Eta, which is still hugging our coast, and hopefully, we're starting to get to the point where it's going to move on through, but we've had a lot of problems in our coastal communities. That's why we've been spending a lot of time in Pinellas County and Manatee County. They've really borne the brunt of some of the damage here. We don't want to ignore our northern counties by any means, though, but thankfully they have not seen quite what we have more to the south here in Pinellas and Manatee. But let's check in Citrus County. Our Sarah Blazonis joins us there now, and I'm sure that Citrus County doesn't mind one bit that they haven't had to deal with what Pinellas and Manatee are dealing with right now. What's it been like there, Sarah?
Holly, it seemed a lot like a typical rainy evening, honestly, here in Citrus County. Now, they have reached high tide. The water levels have gone up, but honestly, it looks a lot like what you would expect of a typical high tide. Now, take a look. There is a shrub out in the water that we've kind of been using as a marker all evening long. The water line was actually back there at one point, and there were several feet of dry land between that shrub and the edge of the parking lot. The water has closed that gap, but again, it looks just like a typical high tide. It's nowhere near overflowing into the parking lot. A storm surge warning for this county called for anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of water above ground level, and we're not there right now, but that warning prompted some action here at the marina earlier. People were taking their boats out of the water all afternoon here trying to beat the storm. One man told us at some points there were 5 or 6 cars waiting for their turn to use the ramp. Citrus County didn't see rainfall for much of the day, but he said getting a glimpse at Ada's impact on other counties definitely created some anxiety about what could happen here.
And all these boats here, I live on mine, so I'm staying on board to make sure nothing bad happens, but it's not for the faint at heart. It's kind of scary for me, so I'm going to tough it out.
Now, at least as of right now, that man, along with I'm sure many other residents of Citrus County, are breathing sighs of relief. As of right now, all evening long, we've seen some rain showers, but they've really only lasted a couple of minutes. It's been more drizzles than anything. We had some heavier wind a little bit earlier. You're seeing some of the stronger gusts we've been having here so far this evening. Nothing that you would have to necessarily brace yourself against. It's just kind of a typical breezy evening. I'm sure a lot of people are hoping it stays that way, but we're going to be out here tonight. We're going to be continuing to monitor those water levels and see what kind of impact Ada has on Citrus County. Holly.
Well, we hope it stays that way as well. All right, Sarah, thank you for being there for us in Citrus County tonight. We want to go back, though, and show you some video here. This is from our Nick Marianos. He posted this on social media. You're looking at Gandy Boulevard, and you can see that there's a large emergency vehicle response there. Exactly what's going on, we don't know yet. We're working to figure that out, but there were reports of a structure collapse along Gandy, and there's certainly clearly something going on there because you have a lot of emergency vehicles. What kind of structure that could be, we just have no idea at this point. But with all the high water, you know, we've heard things about, you know, piers being washed away and more, you know, flood waters up across the street and some getting into buildings. We know that that's happening in some places along Gulfport and Johns Beach and Johns Pass rather, and now we're looking at something happening on Gandy Boulevard that has a lot of fire trucks there. Fingers crossed it's something minor, but when you hear a structure collapse, it certainly makes you wonder exactly what has happened there. We're working to gather more details, but that's one of the things that emergency responders are dealing with there. I'm trying to, as I talk, look closer in at the video and see if I can get any idea of what's going on. But it's just really hard to tell what you're looking at from that video. Anyway, we're working on that as we try to figure out what's happening out on Gandy, but we want to head back over now to the Weather Center, and Brian, just, you know, all sorts of problems here and there, and it's from this flood water as we start to hit our high tides.
Yeah.
Maybe something going on at the Safety Harbor Pier as well, we've heard. So definitely when the sun comes up, I mean, we're not going to come out of this unscathed. There's some things going on right now.
That's pretty much what I was thinking too. I think it's the classic nighttime tropical storm where you wake up the next morning and go, hey, where'd my boat go? Hey, what happened? Yeah, it's going to be one of those weird things where, yeah, there's a lot going on out there right now. The tide levels are high, the flooding is going on, and as long as people stay safe, that's obviously the most important thing. But yeah, we're getting reports of water encroaching on Howard Franklin. We've got water across the Courtney Campbell Causeway. We've got water into a lot of low-lying areas, and it makes sense. It does. It totally makes sense. That, you know, this is happening basically the way that it sets up when you get a northeastward moving storm pointed at Tampa Bay, and if it's moving slow enough all day long, you get this continual southwestward trajectory of water just being shoved right into Tampa Bay. This is not the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario would be more like a Cat 3 or 4 coming at us like this, but this is definitely a bad scenario set up for flooding in low-lying areas. And so once that water gets shoved up into Tampa Bay, it can't go anywhere. For folks in Citrus and Hernando County, if you have questions about, well, what's going on in our area and how come it hasn't been that bad? Well, number one, you're so far north that obviously it's taking a little bit longer to get those heavier rains towards you, but they're slowly starting to work towards you. There you can see some of the heavier rain bands now working into Hernando County, so your rains will pick up. But no, it has not been that bad. The other thing too is you've been maybe wondering, well, how come we haven't had the storm surge? Well, remember, the winds are going in the opposite direction for you. So it's actually been shoving the water away from your coastline. So you're very lucky in that really you're not getting a whole lot of the bad weather that has been down to your south. Really heavy rains all across Pasco County, but the wind gusts have pretty much peaked in the 40s. That's not too bad. So maybe some intermittent power outages, but not too bad there. Pinellas County, actually your rains have backed way off, but the wind trajectory is the exact same, southwest to northeast. So you're going to continue to keep that water pushed right up against the coastline. Manatee County, finally a lot better. The heaviest of rain bands are pushing off to the east. Eastern Hillsborough County, that's where the really heavy rain is, and you're finally starting to get some heavier rains moving into Polk County, but really you haven't had the worst of it today at all. It's been pretty gentle there. 11 p.m. for the tides in Tampa Bay. We've passed the high tides on the area beaches, so that's at least some good news, but it'll take a while for those water levels to come down, not till 1 a.m. high tide in Crystal River. But again, the good news is the farther north you are in Crystal River, I really don't think you're going to have the right setup with the trajectory of the winds to have a major problem. Sure, the water levels will eventually go up towards the morning, but I really don't think it's going to be that bad. Look how quick the dry air is moving in from the west. And so what that means is, yeah, you're basically going to have the drier air coming in pretty quickly. Interesting. FDOT website showing 2 right lanes blocked on I-275 northbound. We'll have to check into that. But that's the way it's looking right now. That's what we were talking about earlier about 275 near the Howard Franklin having water washing up and on. Okay, so some drier air moving in. So what this means is once we can get rid of these rain bands pushing off to the east-northeast, it does look like that drier air will come in pretty quickly tomorrow, and at least we will start to dry out. So that is good news. It's just going to take some time. I know it's a pain in the butt to hear that. It's even a pain to say it. I don't like saying that. I'd like to just say, oh, it's going to be beautiful in a few hours. It doesn't work that way. So the winds will slowly come down. Still not going to see good boating conditions here over the next 24 hours. It's going to take till later on Friday into Saturday before we get the better boating conditions in here. All right, all that being said, we're going to have drying conditions, so at least that's good news. Much drier for this weekend. And then look at that. Oh, yeah. Cold front. Woohoo! Coming in Monday night into Tuesday. It's finally going to feel like fall instead of late September. All right, there's your pollen forecast brought to you by Famous Tate Appliance and Bedding Centers. The levels are low now. They'll go back up into the moderate range Friday into Saturday.
Marine Forecast is brought to you by Brandon Ford. Find the biggest selection at the world's largest volume Ford dealer.
Today I'm talking to small business owners about their internet and phone provider. So Ruben, how's it going?
I'm fed up. I need internet that can keep up with my caseload. The speeds I'm getting now are pathetic.
With Spectrum Business, you get fast internet at a great low price. 200 megabits per second for $49.99 a month and a business phone for $19.99 a month.
That's half what I pay now.
That's what I'm saying. Call 888-388-0203 and get 1 month free. Andrea.
I'm trying to stream my classes, but it's impossible when my internet keeps dropping.
Okay, breathe. Spectrum Business has over 99.9% network reliability.
I need to keep expenses low, but my phone and internet bill is packed with fees I wasn't expecting.
Spectrum Business doesn't have extra fees or contracts, so what you see is what you pay.
I can work with that.
Call Spectrum Business to get 200 megs and business phone for $69.98 a month. Plus, get 1 month free when you call 888-388-0203 today.
Hi, I'm Joe Wagner from Winter Haven Honda. We recently started a buy a car, get a tattoo special, and the response has been incredible. Everyone is lining up to take advantage of this exciting promotion.
I've always been a Honda girl.
We've had more repeat customers than ever before.
I have a full sleeve by the end of the year.
And I was finally able to sell a car to my wife.
I've got one, but only he knows where it is.
Save money! Save time! And get a free tattoo! WinterhavenHonda.com. Your smart choice!
It's a shame how customers are inundated with gimmicks and games when trying to purchase a vehicle. Oh look, here, $25,000 gift card. The gimmicks and games are everywhere you look. Look, here's a golden ticket. Here's a free TV. But what are they really trying to distract you from? The fact that you can't get the lowest price and the best treatment. To get that, you have to come to Bartow Ford. Where at Bartow Ford, we're different, and we prove it.
Our coverage of Tropical Storm Eta continues now. Our Georgia Roman picks up that coverage from the St. Pete Pier, where conditions have been rough out there all day today.
We are still experiencing gusty wind, heavy rain here in downtown St. Petersburg. Another issue, the water is just spilling over the seawall. We've seen big waves crashing over the seawall, causing flooding here at the St. Pete Pier all throughout the day. The pier closed early today at 2 p.m. The businesses shut down along the pier and visitors were told not to visit. The pier will also be closed tomorrow on Thursday all day, and you can just see how strong the wind is. I want to show you some video from this afternoon and this morning where we saw large waves just crashing over the seawall, causing some standing water in front of Dock Ford's. Areas that are usually sidewalks and patios just filled with water there, just large waves crashing over. And of course, we are still seeing that out here now. Again, gusty wind, heavy rain. The pier will be closed all day tomorrow on Thursday as the city looks to assess any flooding, any possible damage, and clean up any debris. In St. Petersburg, I'm Georgia Roman, Spectrum Bay News 9.
At Spectrum News, we're striving to help rebuild communities by bringing you the latest news from your team of local journalists. Stories that matter to you, now wherever you are. Introducing the new Spectrum News app. Refreshing storytelling, at home or on the go, exclusively for Spectrum customers.
You served, and you deserve your VA benefits. We assist disabled veterans in obtaining the compensation benefits that you earned. This is what we do. This is all we do. We are the rep for vets.
Brandon Ford is in an epic battle to keep their title as the largest Volume 4 dealer in America. The battle is neck and neck with a dealer in Detroit. So this Veterans Day will be the biggest Veterans Day sale we've ever had. And the prices are ridiculous. Like 2020 F-150 STX demo specials for just $31,900. The Veterans Day sale at Brandon Ford, dealing to remain the #1 Volume 4 dealer in America. Please take time to remember our veterans.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Adam. We followed in our family's footsteps and loved learning about gemstones at GIA.
Gems with Them is our way to share our knowledge about birthstones, which can make a wonderful gift any time of the year.
November has 2 gems, citrine and topaz. The warm color of citrine is said to be a gift from the sun and a healing gemstone.
And imperial topaz is most desired with its rich orange to red color.
With the holiday approaching, come in and see all our beautiful birthstones.
Follow me on Gems with Them or go to goldendiamond.com to learn more.
Deciding on the perfect major appliance to buy doesn't have to be stressful. Famous Tate offers a huge selection and expert advice in our 11 local showrooms. As the largest independent on Florida's West Coast, we know appliances. Famous Tate, of course. With Famous Tate, there's no reason to stress paying too much for a major appliance. Our prices are all backed by our price match and 30-day low price guarantee. Buy with confidence at Famous Tate. Of course.
You served, and you deserve your VA benefits. We assist disabled veterans in obtaining the compensation benefits that you earned. This is what we do. This is all we do. We are the rep for vets.
Local Forecast is brought to you by Lakeland Ford. Always get more truck for less at lakelandford.com.
Right of that, in between the lights, you can see the big waves just crashing up and over the Howard Franklin Bridge, that lower part of it as you just get onto the bridge northbound. The waves just crashing, so much water in the bay and stirred up from this system, and it's a big bowl. It doesn't have anywhere to go. But you can see there, you see a car just going by northbound, so the bridge is not shut down. It's just that those two right-hand lanes where the water is coming up and over, they have blocked off. So anybody who's still out driving tonight is able to get through northbound, and then you're looking at southbound, and they're not having any problems on that side of the bridge that we've heard of. It's all right there on the northbound side, but again, bridge not closed down, just they have to be careful because the water is splashing up so high over the side of the bridge there on the Howard Franklin. Just one of the many things that we're watching with all of the high water out there tonight. We'll continue that now as we head on over to the Pinellas County coast, where the heavy rain and the wind have just really slammed the coast for hours now. And Trevor Pettiford joins us once again from Paso Grill. You've been watching the water creeping up, and I know you've talked to some folks there, Trevor, who were watching it nervously as well, hoping it doesn't get into their homes. How's it look now?
Yeah. Things right now are looking really windy. It just here in the last few minutes, the winds really picked up, and you can see the waves are reacting to that as I speak. We haven't seen any rain here in the last hour or so, which is a good thing. Things have started to dry out a little bit here, but the waves have really been starting to pounding the storm wall here at Paso Grill Beach. We were talking about some flooding. If we do have that video that we had up a little bit earlier, I can show it to you again about some flooding we saw here on Paso Grill Way that brings you into Paso Grill Beach. There was a lot of flooding in that area. People were telling us that the water is coming up from the sewers into the streets there, so that's a bad indication that the sewers are backing up and some of that water is being pushed up into the sewers and out into the streets. We talked to a gentleman last hour who's telling us about how the water was about 2 inches from his front door. That's how close some of these people are getting it. We're even hearing some reports that some people may have gotten some water into their homes. We don't know how much at this point. We've had a difficult time trying to actually get through that pass as well because the water is so high that we're pretty much stuck here on Paso Grill Beach. We haven't been able to check the road yet. We're going to check that out probably next hour. But back here live again, you can see the wind that's going. If I move out here a little bit further, you can see how the wind is just pushing all the waves up here. We haven't seen them push up here as much as we've seen them in hours past, which is a good sign that things may be slowing down here. We know there's considerable beach erosion here. This area is often a victim of that beach erosion when we have this kind of turbulent weather. Right on the other end of that concrete wall, it'll just drop down about 3 to 4 feet, and you'll see the boulders that are there that kind of shore up this beach. They're going to have a lot of work ahead of them to nourish this beach again before people can get on it again. We're going to keep an eye on the situation here as things continue to kind of ebb and flow its way slowly into a calmer situation here. We've seen fewer people out here as well, but it's getting late as well out here too. But we're going to keep an eye on the situation here while I send it back to you, Holly.
All right, thank you, Trevor. Appreciate the work you're doing out there for us, and I know you may be stuck there if that water doesn't go down. That's just the way it is right at the moment.
Right.
Thanks, Trevor. All right, as we track the high water right now, and the flooding is the issue in the coastal areas, Manatee County, Pinellas County. We're hearing about flooding over in Johns Pass, Madeira Beach. We've seen the video out of there, Coffee Pot Bayou, Shore Acres. The usual places that do flood, but we've seen much more with this late Coffee Pot Bayou. There we go. We're taking a live look here. A video actually from earlier, but it's the same situation. We checked in with Josh Rojas, who's out there reporting for us, saying this is the worst he's seen in 14 years of doing this gig, covering tropical storm systems. And here in November, we've got this storm that has brought such high water. The issue we're hoping that isn't too bad, but you know, the fact is it's probably going to be some damage into people's homes. And, you know, we've heard just things about fishing piers being washed away, and that's going to happen when the water gets this high. That's the street that you're looking at, Coffee Pot Boulevard. Water shouldn't be up and over it, but it is well up and over it. And you can see it's getting very, very close to those homes as well. So no doubt some folks are dealing with that and are going to have some cleanup to do tomorrow. So that's the situation that we're watching now. We're still trying to get caught up on what might have happened over on Gandy Boulevard. There's a big emergency response there earlier and a report of a structure collapse. We just don't know yet what that might have been. And again, we are watching it. It's not quite over yet. 8 is not out of our area. We have been tracking this storm all morning long, back when it was a Cat 1 for a little bit, and then it turned back into a tropical storm. We've had warnings of tornadoes all afternoon, but we haven't had those for hours now. But that's just the progression that we've had all through the evening to bring us to where we are now. And when you've got water coming down with the rainfall and then nowhere to go with the storm surge in the bay and along the coast, this is the situation that we're dealing with, is this very high water and flooding. And some places have not had their high tide yet, others have. So we're hoping that means now that we've hit high tide in certain places, we'll see that water not continue to rise. Until we get there, though, we're not there. So that's why we're doing this along with you right now and watching every moment of it. All right, we do want to bring you up to speed, though, because this is still something we got to think about tomorrow. That's school in our area, what's going on in the different districts, and we just want to remind you of where that stands. Spectrum Bay News 9's Roy DeJesus has a look at what students and parents need to know right now.
Many parents are wondering what's happening the next couple of days with schools. Pinellas County, schools are closed Thursday. Pasco also canceled on Thursday, as well as events and activities. They expect Pasco schools to be in session back on Friday. Pasco superintendent posted this video on social media.
Tomorrow morning, as soon as it is safe to do so, our staff members will be at our schools and district offices checking for damage, flooding, and possible power outages. As soon as we receive word about the effects of the storm, we will send out an update. After we have the complete picture, and after we consult with the Emergency Operations Center, we will make an announcement regarding our plans for Friday.
Polk County Schools joins them. They'll be closed tomorrow. This includes all schools, including virtual offices and after-school activities. Normal operations are expected to resume on Friday. Hernando County Schools will be closed tomorrow as well. And here are schools doing distance learning. Citrus County Schools will be closed tomorrow, but students will transition to remote learning. In Manatee, schools close tomorrow and Friday, but classes will continue for all students virtually through e-learning. And Hillsborough County schools are closed on Thursday and Friday. They'll do remote learning on those days as well. We also have these updates online, and you can get alerts with our Spectrum News app. In the newsroom, I'm Roy DeJesus.
And here's what all these closures are all about, what we've been following all day. We want to show you now the Courtney Campbell Causeway. This is video from just a little bit ago, and you can see why it has to be closed down. Look at the water up over the causeway. One of the folks who works here at Spectrum Bay News 9 sent this in to us, and you can see nobody's getting across the Courtney Campbell anytime soon. Howard Franklin is not closed down, but 2 lanes northbound have the storm surge coming up over the bridge, so only 1 lane is getting by, but at least you've got that here on the Courtney Campbell. Just look at the rain pouring down, and you can see the officers out there, our first responders. I've said it a few times, but not enough. We just want to thank them for the work that they're doing out there, trying to keep everybody safe, trying to keep people out of this stuff, to avoid anything awful happening. We do unfortunately see that, and tonight we've been very fortunate in that regard that we haven't had reports, and certainly hoping it stays that way, of people getting into the water and getting themselves into a really dangerous situation. We've had one thing that happened early on, and that was a person in Manatee County who was electrocuted had water up in their home, and somehow that ended up in a fatality. And so that was the worst news that we had of the night in Manatee County. But again, that's Courtney Campbell. It's closed. Thank you to first responders there doing their jobs. They're working out all over the Bay Area. Let's head back to the Weather Center, and we're going to track Ada. We've been wanting Ada to get to landfall and get a move on and get out. How close are we to that, or can you tell us?
Hours.
Yeah.
Hours. Yeah. I know when we're on the air talking about it and we're seeing these horrible scenes and hearing these horrible things. And by the way, Holly, I don't know if you guys have it yet. It just came in. The flooded mobile home park on Gandy Boulevard at Brighton Beach Road. Currently, rescues taking place as residents are in waist-deep water.
Wow, I bet that's the response that we were looking at.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that the same one?
It's got to be.
Okay, it has to be, right? Because that's that same area. It looks like there's flooding on Highway 19, Green Key Road in Pinellas County, and St. Pete Pier flooded finally. The access road is finally flooded. So yeah, luckily we don't have George out there anymore, obviously. That was many hours ago, but that just kind of, the reason I'm saying this while we're live on air, that kind of gives you an idea of how high the water levels have come, because when we were earlier, oh, there you go, Holly, if you want to talk over that.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Nick Marianos tweeted this earlier, and we knew that there was a report of a structure collapse. That could mean, now that we're getting a little bit more information, you're just seeing that this was a mobile home park. It could have been that a couple of mobile homes washed away, collapsed. There's obviously a big problem going on there on Gandy, and as you just heard, now we're learning, Brian, you're seeing that there are water rescues taking place. And I had just said when we were looking at that Courtney Campbell, we hadn't heard just yet of people getting trapped in the water, but yet when you see what we're dealing with and how widespread it is with the flooding and how high the water is and how high it's been now for hours, that things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're seeing here on Gandy. We did have Trevor Pettiford is in Pinellas County. As you know, we've been going out to him, and he wanted to try to get over to here, but because of all the roads flooded out in Paso Grill where he's at, he can't do that yet. And that is the situation that you get into when you've got this high water up over the roads. But, just really hoping that the folks who are dealing with this right now in this mobile home community are able to be rescued out of this high water and taken to safety. And the crews are out there trying to do that right now on Gandy Boulevard.
Yeah, I agree, Holly, and I think this is going to be a wake-up call for a lot of our newer residents. I mean, let's face it, in Tampa Bay, it's a very transient city and a very transient area because we, have a lot of people that come and go.
So many people move, all over to Florida each and every year, and it's all new to them.
And so since the last time Irma was kind of the closest, but remember, because of Irma's trajectory, we didn't have any flooding issues. We had wind.
Yeah, we had the water sucked out of the bay. We had the opposite happening.
So it's been a long time. It's been many years since we had that perfect trajectory. And I don't mean perfect to sound positive. No, perfectly negative, perfectly horrible, where it just shoves all the water into the bay, and it's our worst case scenario. And now here's the shocking part. This is just a tropical storm.
Exactly. And we've said it today, but when you say wake-up call, it is beneficial to pause for just a second and think how fortunate we have been over the years not to get something like this during the height of storm season. Just imagine, look at the problems we're having right now, and this is a kind of a weak, sloppy tropical storm. If you had, at one point Ada was a 4. If you had something like that, and we've said for years, if something like that were to get into the area, it would be catastrophic.
Absolutely.
But you can't really wrap your head around it because it's been so long since that's happened. I mean, not in modern history has that happened. None of us have dealt with that. But you can look at this thing and think, what if it were? that, and you can see what that might be.
Yes, this is a perfect example. So if these tide levels, Holly, to give you an example, if these tide levels are only 2 to 4 feet above average or above where they should be, imagine a storm like the 1921 storm where you have 10 feet.
I can't imagine what that, and just think they didn't have the buildings and the population and everything that we have right now. I mean, I can imagine, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to. I've been going to conferences, weather conferences, for my profession for 20 years. And the number one thing that we would always talk about when it came to tropical weather was, you got to watch out for New Orleans because they could get hit. And then they did in '05. They had their big event. They had their Katrina, and everybody went, oh my gosh, why didn't anybody warn us? Well, meteorologists had been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it for 20, 30 years. Well, guess what the number 2 spot on the list always is at my weather conferences?
Right here.
Right here, Tampa Bay. And they always talk about, yeah, you don't get hit very often. It might only be once every 50 to 100 years. But when you do, this is what can happen. And again, this really isn't even that bad compared to what it could be. We got very lucky in that this is just a tropical storm, so it's 2 to 4 feet. That's manageable. There is definitely going to be low-lying flooding all night long. But, oh my gosh, it could be so much worse. Now, I've seen videos, Holly, and I'm sure you've probably seen them too, coming in, of people crossing the Howard Franklin tonight. Yes. And that water is just crashing over the bridge.
And that's what we're looking at live here. That's the northbound side. And look, you can see the waves crashing right there, the entrance northbound to the bridge. The bridge is not shut down, but those 2 right lanes are on the northbound side, and that's what you can see. But yeah, it's not a fun trip across the Howard Franklin right at the moment. They've got 1 lane open on that northbound side. There you see some cars driving through. I know I saw a tweet from our Mitch Perry, who was working in Tampa tonight, and he crossed over and basically was tweeting, that was a little scary, a little bit of a scary ride across the Howard Franklin as those waves are just crashing up over the top there.
And I've seen that happen before,
I have
Holly.
too.
I forget which tropical storms in the past where I have driven across both the Courtney Campbell and Howard Franklin. I've seen that happen. But it is somewhat rare to not just see the waves, but actually see the water level encroach on the bridge too.
Yes, building up there.
Yeah.
Seeing the waves crash is one thing. You'll see that in a good summertime storm, but to the point where they have to shut down a couple of lanes because the water is up over the bridge, that's what we're looking at there.
And by the way, that brings up another weird point, or maybe a factoid is a way to put it. Can you imagine if we ever had a bigger hurricane? We already have the Skyway shut down, the Courtney Campbell's already shut down, and then something like this shuts down the Howard Franklin. There's only one way in and out of Pinellas County then, and that's pretty much McMullen Booth or Highway 19. That's it.
Boy.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yes.
Yeah. Now the good news is there's no reason to leave Pinellas County tonight. You know, there's no major hurricane coming towards us, so there's no need to leave. So I'm not trying to, cause fear. What I'm trying to do is tell people this is why meteorologists say every spring, be prepared with a plan. If you live in one of those low-lying areas, if you live in a mobile home, if you live in an evacuation zone A or B, you should always have a plan in the back of your head of where am I going to go, and when am I going to leave, and when can I leave? Because if you're in one of those flood zones, you can't wait till the last minute because the bridges might be closed.
Well, and that's what they're dealing with now, it sounds like, on the Gandy is, this was not a situation where there had to be mandatory evacuations. That hasn't been in place anywhere with this storm. But if you do live in the low-lying areas or you are in a mobile home community, you are going to be more vulnerable. And that is evidently what is happening right now on Gandy Boulevard with those water rescues from a mobile home community. That water comes up high and you find yourself in that situation. It doesn't help to be told, hey, this is just a tropical storm, you didn't have to evacuate. You're in the middle of it. Yeah. You're dealing with it right here and now. And
speaking of right here and now, Holly, are you still watching what we're showing on air?
I am, yes.
Is it me or are they closing all lanes right now?
Well,
I have not seen anybody go northbound after that truck pulled up and stopped everybody.
We saw that one earlier, and of course southbound you're still seeing go by, but well, maybe look here. We've got vehicles pulling up, and I can't tell if they're emergency vehicles yet.
I can't tell
Let's
either.
see
There's
if they
a
come
long
through
line
that.
of cars.
Look, here comes something across. I don't think those are
There you
emergency.
go.
Yeah, no,
There you
it's
go.
still open for now, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like they do barely have one lane still coming by. They're going slow, but yeah, it looks like they barely are getting by. I wonder if they're sitting out there going, gosh, do we need to close this? But I'm sure they don't want to, because again, that's such a main artery out of this county.
Oh, for sure. That's my way home tonight.
Yeah.
A lot of people hoping that doesn't happen, and I don't know, Brian. Yeah, there's still vehicles coming across. I think that's an emergency vehicle.
Yeah, there
though.
goes a fire truck right there. So yeah, so anyways, getting back to what we were saying earlier, you know, it is a wake-up call, and I've lived through tons and tons and tons of hurricanes. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I was hired here at BAY9 15 years ago was I'd been through hurricanes in North Carolina for many years in the 90s and the 2000s, and I've had tons of experience with it. And anybody that knows me and knows my coverage, I'm not for hype. I don't like hype, and I'm all about realistic forecasting. And I'm not a fan of hurricanes, even though I love to research them. But Holly, this is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of them, because they have such big human impacts. You get your home flooded out. You have all of a sudden a whole mobile home park that might have to leave tomorrow. I mean, those are big human impacts. And when you and I talk about, hey, this is a wake-up call, hopefully people will now realize why I am the way I am, and I'm very serious when it comes to tropical systems because of that reason, Holly. I mean, it's really, 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 really tough. If you want to, we can go over to some pictures that I picked up. I've been getting pictures sent into our weather center through the night. I haven't been able to get them all into my computers, but this is a perfect example of what we have been seeing. Betsy sent this picture in from Treasure Island. We do appreciate everybody, by the way, that safely sends us any pictures. Like you can tell this picture, for example, she just took it from up above. And yes, there is the water, a perfect example of how, again, 2 to 4 feet above, storm surge. There's another one. Carolyn Mark sent that one in from Treasure Island, the water sitting there on the roadways. And this is the same thing that our reporters have been showing too. So it's not that this is shocking. It's just, again, what it does is it brings reality to the TV screen that maybe if you're sitting on high ground 10 miles inland, you're going, this isn't that big of a deal. Well, it is in some places. So is it a huge, massive hurricane? No, it is not. I'm not going to pretend it's something that it's not. But again, what this is doing is I think it's a wake-up call for some people that like, oh, wow, this is really, really impressing with the flooding going on. And quite honestly, it's not even that big of a storm and it's doing this, but it's all about those wind trajectories. Look at that. From the southwest, that wind continues. This has been hours now that we have had a southwesterly wind flow shoving that water right up into the bay. And I can't even remember the last time that the wind gusts dropped below the 40s in St. Pete. That's how many hours it's been. I think it was earlier this morning. We've had wind gusts in the 40s and 50s nonstop for that long in St. Pete from the southwest. Holly, I'm hearing that you have an update?
Yeah, we've got some more information on that situation on Gandy. We're hearing from Pinellas County Sheriff's Office that it's the Twin City Mobile Home Park. The good news is no structure collapse. But like you said, there are some units there that are flooded out. So first responders are coming in there. That's what you're looking at now, this video over on Gandy Boulevard. It's the Twin City Mobile Home Park. No structure collapse, but some folks who had to be helped out of their homes, first responders are assisting because some of those mobile homes are flooded. And man, it doesn't take very much water to get up into your house to cause all sorts of problems, and you know, scary enough to have to be rescued, and now you got to deal with, just as you were saying, Brian, the huge human impact of this. Yeah, it's just a tropical storm. It's not anything compared to what it could have been if it were more powerful or we were earlier in the season and we had something really big to deal with. But even on a small scale, I mean, there are those folks who are having their lives and their homes just upended now, and they're going to have to deal with it.
Exactly. Human impact is what I always think about when I'm giving forecast, and that really hits close to home.
And when you're new, moving into Florida, and you've never dealt with something like this before, as so many people do, this is a quick education here on what you have to deal with sometimes in our area. All right, we're got to take a quick break, Brian, as we go out to break, taking a live look there. Looks like it's starting to rain again. I-275 north of 4th Street in Pinellas County. We'll be back with more live team coverage of Ada.
Klystron 9 Local Forecast is brought to you by Bartow Ford. We're different and we prove it.
It's the #1 Lakeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep Black Friday sales event. Truckloads of fresh inventory arriving daily. Check out our huge selection of new Wranglers and Gladiators starting at just $249 a month. Lakeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep on I-4 exit 31 or at lakelanddodge.com.
Watch all month long as Spectrum Bay News 9 celebrates Veterans and Military Families Month. This is Community. This is Spectrum Bay News 9. Exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum News, we're striving to help rebuild communities by bringing you the latest news from your team of local journalists, providing the information you need to make better, more informed decisions across the places we call home. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, exclusively for Spectrum customers, your community connection.
With so many personal injury lawyers advertising, how do you even choose? In this town alone, there are lawyers that we let go, lawyers we fired, and you would never know, and they would never tell you. Here's my advice to you. Do your research on which lawyer you hire. Ask how many verdicts they've had. Do they do personal injury only, or are they a jack of all trades? And if you find a better law firm than ours, hire them. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Brandon Ford is in an epic battle to keep their title as the largest volume Ford dealer in America. The battle is neck and neck with a dealer in Detroit. So this Veterans Day will be the biggest Veterans Day sale we've ever had. And the prices are ridiculous. Like 2020 F-150 STX demo specials for just $31,900. The Veterans Day sale at Brandon Ford, dealing to remain the #1 volume Ford dealer in America. Please take time to remember our veterans.
It's the #1 Lakeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep Black Friday sales event. Truckloads of fresh inventory arriving daily. The all-new Ram 1500 up to $15,000 off MSRP, 0% and no payments for 90 days. Lakeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep on I-4 exit 31 or at lakelanddodge.com.
Priority Health is brought to you by New Smile Dental. Dental implants at a fraction of the cost.
Right now on Spectrum Bay News 9, we continue our team coverage. Hours on end here, Tropical Storm Ada, this late in the season storm skirting along the coast of Tampa Bay. We will be with you until it finally passes. We have crews live in our counties tonight. No flights out tonight, though. Tampa International Airport closed for business all afternoon at night. We have all the important closures. As you can imagine, there are lots of them out there and cancellations, both on air and online. And those images of the tropical blast today, wind, waves, water. We are following it all as we have been for hours now, which, by the way, we're about to welcome Thursday now. We're moving up on midnight, so moving into a new day as we knew we would be with Ada still around. We appreciate you being with us tonight, this morning, whatever it is. I'm Holly Gregory. This is your news, weather now. And weather now is where we're going. Brian McClure joins us. Okay, let's regroup on where we are with Ada here before we go out to our live shots and look at our coastal communities that are dealing with that flooding. Where do we stand with this big messy storm system we've been dealing with for, I've lost track of the hours at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Good time to regroup. It's midnight. Yeah, what is it, tonight or the morning? I never know either. But here we are, midnight. So let's start with Klystron 9, take you right to what we're talking about. Center of circulation is now west of the Hernando-Pasco County line. There it is, right out there. Okay, so it is moving north. I know it's moving slowly, or at least it seems like it to us, but it is moving north, and it's moving like that. Okay, so that's the trajectory. The wind flow is still from the southwest into the bay, so although the heaviest of rain bands have shifted inland, we are still getting the same wind trajectory, which is why the water levels are not going down yet around Pinellas, Manatee, and Hillsborough County, because all that water was shoved into the bay. For Citrus and Hernando County, you have not gotten the heaviest of rain bands, but they are just starting to arrive in Hernando County, and they will be shifting north. The good news, though, is your wind trajectory is offshore, so you are not going to have the storm surge problems that we've had down to the south. You also are not going to see as strong of winds. The wind gusts have mainly been in the 40s, not like the 50s earlier. We have continued to see some flooding, not just around Tampa Bay, but even pushing a little bit further away from Tampa Bay, even northward up past Safety Harbor and into Oldsmar. That's what happens when eventually you get too much water in the bay. It starts to spill over into all those low-lying areas. And so don't be surprised if there's flooding all night and into the early morning hours before it finally starts to go down at some point tomorrow. I'll be back with more updates for you coming up in just a bit, Holly.
All right, Brian, thank you once again. We want to go out to our cruise now, tracking Tropical Storm Ada. It's brought all this heavy wind and rain to the Bay Area today. We've had some pretty intense flooding in some of our neighborhoods, and that's where we want to go live now in St. Pete. Our Josh Rojas is